Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan. Rochester, an Odyssey sports station.
Let's go, Bills!
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside joke takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Ambers. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Gene's a big timer, a social misfit. Clueless to the title of the biggest buskeg hits. Chuck Munchie's goons have the last say. So thanks for your time, Mr. Mayo. Danger likes his cold ones and he likes his bears. But this is Rochester, cute Francesa.
Oh, who cares?
He's critical of Sean, he's critical of Alan. Of course he married Sandy, cause she's Italian. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
Man, is it Sunday yet? I just want it to be Sunday, Gino. I'm tired, man. I'm tired. It's been a long week. I'm ready for Sunday to be here now. You can feel it. The vibes are high. It's only going to get more tense as we get closer to kickoff on Sunday.
I just think we need to edit some of the content out of the show. If you want to call in and talk about it, the officiating, you're not getting on the air.
That's fatiguing.
That's fatiguing. Like, honestly, I am tired reading stats, and Warren Sharp said this, and so-and-so said that, and oh my gosh, what if this comes down to a play?
I love the hero that has to point out, this contradicts what you said on your show earlier. Well, maybe you were half listening when I said what I said on our show earlier about it being kind of like a false narrative that the Chiefs get all the calls. But you're right. I'm tired of talking about it. And ultimately, does any of it matter when you get to Sunday? The team that makes the most plays is going to win that game.
Well, just follow me for 1 second, right?
Gladly.
In the basic, let's say high school football, or you just start there. The team that is winning, generally speaking, commits less penalties. The team that is out-physicaled commits more penalties. So if we take that to the extreme, if the Chiefs are actually the best team in this era of football, wouldn't it stand to reason? After I said I wouldn't talk about this anymore, I'm talking about it. I'm sorry, Dave.
When do holding penalties happen? When you're beaten.
Yeah.
When do pass interference penalties happen? When you're beaten. You could say, oh, that didn't look like pass interference. But you're beaten. I don't know. I think if you want to eliminate that conversation altogether, just make more plays. Don't let it ever come down to a call from a referee, and you don't have anything to worry about. Now, going into a game like this, much like it was last week, every mistake is going to be magnified, whether it's a penalty or a turnover or a drop, a sack. These are all things, all mistakes and errors that will happen through the course of a game that will be magnified, heightened, because both teams are so evenly matched and there's so much on the line. I'm with you, man. I'm tired of talking about the Chiefs and the Chiefs getting the calls and the referees, and I'm fatigued by the refs and by the Kansas City Chiefs. Fatigued. And I think the rest of the country is with us. I want to say that the entirety of America outside of Missouri is ready to see somebody other than the Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
I think probably people that follow football. Again, if you don't follow football and these are the characters you like, and you're going to watch, how many non-football fans watch the Super Bowl? A ton. So I hear what you're saying.
Well, if you don't follow football, I think you're also more likely to be the person who says, oh, the NFL is just scripted anyways. At least that's what my wife likes to say, and she doesn't know anything about football. Oh, does this follow the script? The Bills are supposed to make it to the Super Bowl this year? That makes a lot of sense because they're building a new stadium and they're charging all those PSL, so the NFL scripted it this way, right? That's my wife. That's casual fan. My wife. That's her take. Okay.
Do you bite your tongue? How do you deal with that? You just
whatever you say. So happy you're in the room to watch this game with me. It's great having you here. Yeah, so I have a feeling the NFL would prefer to have teams like the Cowboys in the postseason if it were rigged. I would imagine they would want larger market teams with more eyeballs on their television
I
product
don't know, like
if it were rigged.
Baseball did really well this World Series, and where were the two? Oh, that's right, the number 1 and number 2 media markets.
Yeah.
Not you really think that
And now,
Buffalo they want in?
I did have a friend send me, and I just told him to stop. I had a friend send me a clip from, I don't know if it was from the late 70s or 80s. It was a whole thing, a whole piece on the NFL being rigged, the NFL being basically run out of Vegas. You probably remember that, right? When I want to say it was a PBS special, or maybe it was a 60-minute special thing. I don't remember the exact people involved in it, but it was a long-form piece on how the NFL has been rigged. This was in the 80s. So
I have to look that up. I honestly have never seen it.
yeah, I think it was a PBS show, if I'm not mistaken. And I know it exists out there in the YouTubes. So, and I watched it. I watched it a couple of years ago. It was sent to me, and I thought it was interesting then. But I also now think to myself, with so much on the line with legalized sports wagering, the words integrity of the game haven't carried more weight than they carry more weight now than they ever have.
It's by legalizing sports gambling, you just shine a light on everything. That's the irony here. But it was in the shadows before, but now, oh my gosh, we can't legalize it because all of a sudden things are going to get fixed. No, they're not. But see, the problem danger is that in our lifetime, okay, we had that NBA official who actually did that, Tim Donaghy.
Right.
Can you imagine if that happened? That was in the year, 2000 or something like that. Can you imagine if that happened today? Or we had the Boston College point shaving scandal that goes back even further. But we've had instances like this. And yes, and baseball writer Mike Holland, an entire World Series was once upon a time fixed in 1919.
Yeah, I think we've forgotten about the Black Sox. I mean, I'm pretty sure that that's been erased from our memories. None of us really lived through that. But I mean, the way the NFL acts in such a swift manner when just a whisper of somebody being involved with a sports book in the NFL, it makes it almost impossible to believe that somebody would have anything to do with rigging or fixing the outcome of any game.
Who was the Toronto Raptor player that got banned?
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, like honestly, like there was something really sketchy, and the books picked up on that right away.
Yeah, well, we'll try to reserve talking about the officiating unless it's absolutely necessary the day after the AFC Championship coming up here on Sunday night. And we've got a great show lined up for you this afternoon in the Sports Bar, as we do every Thursday afternoon at 3:25. Give us like 20 minutes or so. We'll talk to Dan Fates from Buffalo Plus and 13 Wham Sports. The Bills back on the practice field today, and we'll get an update on the injuries, what he saw from Matt Milano, what we all kind of witnessed from Christian Benford back on the field, albeit with a garden cap and red non-contact jersey. Dan Fates at 3:25. And at 4:25, we go to Kansas City and talk to Alex Gold from our Odyssey Sports sister station, 96.5 The Fan in Kansas City, and we'll get the latest out of the Chiefs practice.
Yeah, we're not going to – Alex does middays out there, and I don't think it's going to get contentious like it always does with Binkley. Now, Binkley and I, like we
it
have
wasn't contentious yesterday, for the record. I thought yesterday Binkley was well behaved.
Okay, maybe I felt it was contentious.
I didn't feel it was contentious. I felt like that was just a conversation with Binkley. The only thing that I think bothered you and I about Binkley's conversation with us is he came in here saying that the Chiefs are being disrespected, and that to me is ridiculous. Like who is disrespecting the two-time Super Bowl champions? Who is disrespecting a team going for history to try and win their third straight Super Bowl? I don't hear anybody disrespecting the Chiefs.
Well, I mean, are they going to use 4 of the 5 people on the ESPN show get up picking the Buffalo Bills to win this game? Is that motivation? Like, have we reached that point where we're keeping a scorecard? Because, honestly, okay, I would see that, and then I would show you Keyshawn Johnson with his take that is making the rounds that Josh Allen just can't beat Kansas City. And, oh, okay, yeah.
What we're witnessing, really, is the second coming. And I remember thinking when it was happening in real life, in real time, Brady and Manning, like, this is the best. These two absolutely kill each other every time they play each other. These teams absolutely lay it on the line. I don't know that we'll ever see a rivalry like Brady versus Manning. And Manning got over on some, and Brady obviously got over on some. And I think what we're seeing with Allen and Mahomes is that. It's the next generation of that rivalry.
But it took how many years for Manning to get through? And actually, we're right at that point now.
That's right.
And then you don't remember that Peyton Manning was this quarterback. Man, he like how we're talking about Lamar. And if the Bills don't get this done, we'll be talking about Josh Allen in that same vein. Like, well, he's a really good quarterback, but
that's right. Yeah, losing, winning the AFC Championship game, I don't think is enough. I think if you're Josh Allen, you got to win the whole damn thing. Win the whole damn thing.
No. That's the thing. And honestly, Danger, I was thinking about the movie Miracle. Maybe we play that tomorrow because I get a chill up my spine. You know, like we all know the story, right? We've read about it. We grew up with it. You were probably born after it, many of you. But you hear the Herb Brooks speech saying, this is our time. Their time is done. That's how I feel about this. And then what happens? People forget the part of the story.
Yeah.
That didn't win the gold medal. You had another.
Beating the Russians was just a step.
That was the semifinal. Yeah. You have to go beat Finland in the gold medal game. And the speech was much different. Do you remember the speech? If you don't win this game, you'll take it to your effing grave. Your effing grave. Like, those should just be the two speeches with McDermott. You got by the Chiefs, but if you don't win the Super Bowl, you take it to your grave.
That's correct. I agree 100%. So, beating Lamar was nice, but if you lose to the Chiefs, if you lose the Super Bowl, it doesn't matter. Nothing matters.
I like making the Chiefs the Soviet Union here.
Yeah.
Like, that's like they're evil. They wear red.
Red and yellow, like the old Russian, old Soviet Union flag. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. We have time for your calls at 866-4326, 866-4FAN. Jeff wants to talk some Chiefs. You are welcome, Jeff. Go ahead,
Jeff.
buddy.
Hi, guys. How are you?
Doing well.
Okay. There's been a lot of hate for the Chiefs in the national media. And I hear it locally as well because I'm in Western New York. I grew up in Western New York, and I've been a fan since 1990 of the Chiefs. And I'm not going to apologize for my team finally reaching the precipice and winning. I just want to know where all the hate comes from. I know you guys say he gets a lot of calls, this, that, and the other, but I mean, Brady was 10 times worse. He got caught cheating several times, and the hate was not as bad. He won 6 rings. He went to the championship game 14 times. I just want to know, why is there so much hate against the Chiefs?
I'm curious as to why the Chiefs fans feel like they're being disrespected as much as they
hate. Like,
Jeff, I don't know where the disrespect or where Chiefs fans hear the disrespect coming from, other than the accusations that come from casual fans who say that the Chiefs are in bed with the refs. Is that where you feel like your team is being disrespected? Because I don't feel like we've been disrespectful of the team that's about to win, has a chance to win their third Super Bowl.
Jeff, do you take offense to me comparing the Chiefs to the Soviet Union?
Well, yeah.
Maybe that's it, yeah.
Well, I mean, they're a small town market. They're bigger now. I guess if you're not them, you want to hate on them because they're successful, and I get that because I was on the other side of the fence for a really long time. And I know LeBron gets hate. I don't want to compare Mahomes to LeBron or whatever, but he's a great quarterback, and you can't go on social media as a Chiefs fan, especially in Western New York, and not see constant hate about, I got to send in my check to pay the rest this week, or, it just discounts.
That's the first thing you went to. So I think that's what, Jeff, I think that's what it is. I think you, because it's the first thing you went to when you said you go on social media, it's the first thing you see. I got to send my check to the refs this week. I mean, that's the thing that I think bothers Chiefs fans more than anything is the notion that they get all the calls, which I said earlier in the week, I think is a false narrative. I don't believe it to be true.
All right. I think I know when it changed for me. From it going from this is a team that, boy, they are a dynasty, and boy, you respect greatness to, I don't know if I like this team anymore. And, Jeff, you know the answer to this, okay? Hey, Kadarius Toney is offside. You may not like it. That's a penalty. Mahomes acting like a child.
Yeah, that wasn't
acting
cool.
like a child, and then coming over to shake hands, and then bitching to Allen when you got beat fair and square in that game. Forgive me, that kind of changed my opinion a little bit of Patrick Mahomes.
I agree, but I mean, that's just the competitor in him, I guess. He didn't handle it right, but that's the heat of the moment or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, you have that moment. You have the moment where Kelsey's yelling in Andy Reid's face. I mean, there's a couple of less than savory or flattering moments that they've had, the stars of that team have had. And I think that gets heightened as well because there's so many eyeballs watching them as often as they're in prime time, as often as they're in the Super Bowl or playoff games. So they're going to be scrutinized even more than the average team, even a team like the Bills who gets a lot of primetime games. You see what I'm saying there, Jeff?
I do, but I remember I do have a short-term memory here with this. The national media used to love the Chiefs when they were the underdogs, like when they played the Patriots in the AFC Championship game and Dee Ford was offsides by 3 inches and negated a Brady pick with a minute left that would have sealed the game for the Chiefs. Like, everybody was rooting for the Chiefs, and all of a sudden now Taylor Swift showed up, which I'm not a fan of, but hey, let Travis be happy. It's his life, whatever. But I mean, I think that kind of swung the pendulum to they're rigging the games for Taylor Swift now, or Caitlin Clark's in the booth now, and I don't see it.
Jeff, I'm going to save you future therapy bills and tell you that the reason why you feel the Chiefs get disrespected are, one, because everybody believes that the refs give them all the calls, and two, because Taylor Swift is dating Travis Kelce, and you're feeling the hate toward your team because your team is that good, and they get that much exposure. The rest of us, I think, if anything, it's not a disrespect as much as it is just a fatigue. It's just a fatigue.
Yeah, and look, in those memes you're seeing, just get off social media.
Yeah,
it'll die down. Jeff, appreciate the call. Our phone number 866-4FAN, 866-4326. Mike calling in from Seabreeze. What's going on, Mike?
Hey, Mike.
Hey, guys. So I've been reading the tea leaves, and it sets up perfectly for a Bills story to win the Super Bowl this year, and here's why. Because you have two hurdles that you gotta face. You got the Chiefs, that that there's that story, we can't beat the Chiefs, right? But if we beat the Chiefs and we get to the Super Bowl, we're guaranteed to play an NFC East opponent, which if you look back into the 4 Super Bowls that we played, they were all against NFC opponents. So we hurdle both of those hurdles, and we win in the end. Thoughts? All right, bye-bye.
All right, thanks.
Mike.
I think you meant NFC East opponents.
Correct.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I guess it's kind of fun, kind of coincidental.
Exercise all the demons,
yeah,
is what he's saying.
If you're going to play Washington again, I think that's the matchup America wants, is like, okay, give us something new here. What matchup would I want? Both of them are going to be tough, because if you think, well, you get Washington, we don't have to deal with Saquon. Okay, can I introduce you to Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler? Okay,
I mean, I think both of them are fine backs, but they pale in comparison to what Jaden Daniels can do. Jaden Daniels,
well, right, when you're talking about, yeah.
I mean, the idea that rookie could make the Super Bowl and turn it upside down with his play, because that's all he does. He just turns things upside down with his play. It's remarkable.
Would he smile if they won the NFC Championship?
Jaden Daniels?
He just kind of like, yeah.
I think Jaden Daniels is a lot of fun. Yeah, I think he would. And I kind of like that story of Dan Quinn, the guy that nobody wanted, taking that team and the just complete culture overhaul. And here they are. They find themselves one win away from the Super Bowl. Nobody had Washington in the NFC Championship game. Nobody.
If Washington gets to the Super Bowl, will there be some article? Will there be a report? Where are they now, Daniel Snyder? Will somebody track down Daniel Snyder and get his thoughts?
On the Lady S.
The Lady S.
Yeah, somewhere on in Safe Harbor.
The lawyer's still with Daniel Snyder. No, Daniel, you can't do that. No, you can't talk to your employee like that, Daniel.
Yeah, it is like a lawyer on call with him all the time just to make sure that he was behaving the way he was supposed to behave. Now, if he's on the lady, yes, he's probably out there with hookers and blow and, zero rules and no accountability and just living the life that he was trying to live while he was owning a football team. Just a scumbag. To answer your question, yeah, probably. Somebody probably will be like, hey, where's Daniel Snyder now? How does he feel about all this?
The NFL will love that.
Yeah. We got to get to Dan Fates, 13 Wham Sports, Buffalo Plus. We'll talk more Bills and Chiefs with Dan next. You can do like Mike and Jeff have done. Join us on the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line. Our phone number, 866-4FAN, 866-4326. Award-winning barbecue from Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub, 135 West Commercial Street, East Rochester. GoodSmokeBBQ.com.
Taking care of Bills update.
Taylor Rapp once again not on the practice field today. The Bills' official Thursday practice report has yet to come out. Two Hall of Famers going at it. Von Miller, future Hall of Famers, I should say. Von Miller talking about Patrick Mahomes.
He's just one of those players. Like, it's kind of like, Kobe. Like, he's going to score his shots. He's going to score his points. No matter if you have two guys on him, one guy on him, no matter if you're playing man zone, if you're rushing him, like, he's going to make plays. We just got to make a few plays, more than him.
AFC Championship game, 2 p.m. for our coverage on Sunday. Dan Fates, 13WM and Buffalo Plus, joining us next here in the Sports Bar. There's a report out of Dallas that says the Cowboys will name their offensive coordinator, Brian Schottenheimer, as their new head coach. Sabres tonight continue their road trip. They're in Calgary, 9 p.m. here on The Fan. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Top Shelf Sports Talk. You're hanging out in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
It's either going to be super celebration party or me in a 24-pack by myself. So that was the two ends of the spectrum.
Bills right tackle Spencer Brown.
24-pack?
I don't doubt it.
I don't doubt it.
I don't doubt it. In fact, I kind of admire it. We welcome in Dan Fates, 13WAM Sports, Buffalo Plus. We'll talk about Brown and the offensive line here in a little bit, Dan. But I wanted to start with Cole Bishop, and it sounds as if Taylor Rapp not at practice again today, that we could be seeing Cole Bishop back there. So I wanted to get your take on how he played late in the game against Baltimore there, how he's played through the course of the season, and the impact that a guy like Micah Hyde, even though he's not on the field, may be having on somebody like Cole Bishop, who is going to get thrust into a pretty important role here if he gets to start on Sunday.
Yeah, guys, I think he's gotten better as the year has gone on. He still has provided those flash plays. I think he's a freak. I think he's done really good in the box and learned more about the filling gaps and what they kind of thought of him to be, more of a kind of like a Poyer, the way that he can kind of play in the box as that kind of safety. Still have some concerns about the flaws that he may have in the knowledge of the system, and there have been some deep throws that have gone over top of him, but I feel better about him now than I did earlier in the year, that's for sure.
Sticking with the safeties here in Danger, we didn't get to this. Can Damar Hamlin win the Comeback Player of the Year award for something that happened 2 years ago? Dan, is this a make good?
I don't know. It might be because Joe Flacco apparently winning a playoff game was all that really mattered instead of coming back from dying, because I think that's a pretty impressive comeback. But, yeah, I think that we've seen, again, that was the biggest play of Damar's career. It was hanging on to Lamar Jackson's ankle. And for all the national narrative of, the Ravens gave them the game, like, not every turnover is looked at as a giveaway. You still put yourself defensively in position to force those turnovers. And we've seen Lamar multiple times throughout his career make guys one-on-one look silly, and give Damar Hamlin all the credit in the world for hanging on for dear life of Lamar Jackson's ankle and forcing that. So he probably played the best game of his career in the biggest game of his career. So that does give me some positive for it. Again, the awards have already been decided. We just don't know the results. I don't think he's going to win it, but there's promises to the way that he's been playing of late, that's for sure.
Dan, last week when we spoke to you about the matchup against the Ravens, we spent some time talking about the size and the physicality in the trenches for the Ravens versus the Bills. And you might not have the same amount of size, although Chris Jones is size. You also have a guy on the defensive line for the Chiefs, George Karlaftis, who had himself, I would say, a career game just last week against the Texans. How do they match up against this consistent Bills offensive line that we really haven't talked a lot about because they've just been so damn good all season long?
Yeah, I think Karlaftis is a product of Steve Spagnuolo, and I don't know about you guys, but I'm aware, the Bills are aware, that they will blitz from everywhere. Apparently the Houston Texans were unaware of that. When it comes to – now the Texans' offensive line is bad. They played better in their first playoff game against the Chargers, but they turned back into the pumpkins that they are. So Karlaftis has been a guy that has kind of benefited from the attention, not taking anything away from him, benefited from the attention that Chris Jones gets as an all-pro player. But if we're talking about the Bills' offensive line, I've been very impressed. I did not think that the Bills would be able to run the ball as well as they did against Denver or as well as they did against Baltimore. And when I look at this, and you guys know my thoughts on running in general and Josh Allen and some of those thoughts, I think the Bills believe that their best 5 offensive players that aren't number 17 are the 5 guys that line up in front of them. They really believe in this unit. They think that they are the best, their biggest strength. And unlike the last few weeks where Denver was probably the second best defensive line in football, and maybe with the Eagles, the Ravens were viewed as the best defensive line in football, and they were able to push them around. That's a big confidence that I have going into this matchup that I was very concerned about going into Baltimore.
Well, Dan, and I'm just wondering here, too, because the first time the Bills faced the Chiefs this year, going back to the regular season game, I mean, it was a lot of James Cook running into a wall there. So do you expect the Bills to still be a run-first team? Because I think it's so ironic. It's almost like the Bills are playing like the Chiefs here. We're going to just kind of –
Very much.
Yeah, we don't need it. Do you expect more of the six-man front and more runs on first and second down?
Yeah, and look, who wasn't in that game, too, for the Bills was Spencer Brown. He missed that game. So it's funny. You kind of go back and look at – we talked about, the different players that were out in the Ravens game. The Bills were missing a ton of guys in that Chiefs game, too. So the way you look at it, and the Bills were so unsuccessful at running the ball early, and Josh was just magical on third down. I looked at it, 9 of 15, something like that, in third down, and they weren't 3rd and 3s, guys. They were 3rd and 9 plus. And he kept being like, they can't be behind the sticks. They kept being behind the sticks. And Josh was still able to make magic happen. So I don't expect – I think this Bills offensive line has gotten better since then, obviously Spencer Brown being a big part of that. But this is also the time of the year where defensive lines are a little worn down. Like, this is why – maybe this is part of why the Bills have struggled in the postseason is they haven't had these 5 dudes up front to really push people around late in the season. Hand up. That's where maybe I've been wrong at times. But that's where I feel like this Bills team is still their bread and butter right now is running the ball and not being intimidated. I was blown away by the fact that they ran for 70-plus yards in the first half and that they ran the ball 20 out of the 27 plays they had in the first half against Baltimore. They have an identity. I think this is why this is their best chance to go to the Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl is because of their ability to run the ball. So I was wrong, and I can admit that because I don't think they're going to steer too far away from that. Look, the conditions will be a little bit better in Kansas City. Wind's not supposed to be a factor. Temps in the 20s, clear weather, kind of thing like that. So maybe some more downfield passes from Josh, but I imagine it's still going to be a steady diet of James Cook, Ray Davis, and Ty Johnson to go along with Josh in his Superman cape.
All right, Dan, so the Chiefs, for what it's worth defensively, 31st in success rate and 32nd in yards per play when opposing teams are targeting their tight ends, right? And we know, talking about guys who weren't out there, you mentioned Spencer Brown, Dalton Kincaid at Highmark. Big day ahead for Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid?
Yeah, I've already bet the overs on both their props. Yes. Knox is 15.5. Kincaid, I got it at 33.5 on DraftKings. It's now up to 34.5. Joe Brady's really smart. And I don't see how you don't look at that as a weakness of this Chiefs defense. Now, like I said, their corners are great. They're healthier now in the secondary for sure. I don't think they can play any better like we talked about against the run. But I think there are opportunities to win over the middle of the field with Knox and Kincaid. I'll say this about Knox. I don't know how many more players Josh trusts throwing the ball to than Dawson Knox at this point of the season. I think number 1 is obviously Khalil Shakir. I'd argue number 2 is Ty Johnson, and then whoever you want to put at third, whether it's Knox or Mac Hollins, those have been the guys that Josh has trusted the most. And for all everybody wants to talk about where's Amari Cooper, where's Keon Coleman, where are these guys? At this point in the season, you're going with the guy that you trust. And a big thing is I'm not sure if it's there necessarily with guys like Cooper or guys like Coleman. Now, Josh did hit Coleman on a quick slant, which was a designed run play, which against the Ravens on a first down, which I was surprised by because earlier in the year, One of those throws hit Coleman in the back of the head. The other one was tipped and intercepted. So he's gaining some trust with him. But you look at these moments, and I know that Tom Brady talks about it in one of the broadcasts, saying like a wide receiver slipped and a pass was incomplete. And they asked him, like, hey, Kevin Burkhardt's like, would you go back to him? And he's like, no, I can't trust him. Like, whether you lose your footing or not, this is all about trust. And so Dawson Knox is a guy I think he trusts a lot. I think it's 50-50 with Kincaid. I think he's had a disappointing season. I was one of the guys that was kind of wary of saying that you can build your whole passing attack around a second-year tight end, but you can make up for all of that in the postseason. We've seen Curtis Samuel make big plays in the first 2 playoff games. Maybe Kincaid, this is his breakout spot.
Dan Vates, Buffalo Plus, 13 Wham, joining us here. By the way, the line has moved again. BetQL now has the Bills 1.5 they're getting here. So a little money has come in on Buffalo. This time yesterday is Bills by 2. Dan, special teams, it could come down to that. It could come down to a kick by Bass or Bucker, or certainly have a Ariza. My question is Codrington returning the punts? Because that wasn't going to be the case last week. That was... Codrington was healthy enough, correct? I mean, your thoughts on Shakir, would that be the move you would advocate here for in this game?
Yeah, I think it will be. I think Codrington, again, will be a healthy scratch just because, and Sean talks about it, roster building in this spot, especially, like, I think Christian Benford will play, but it may be helpful to have an extra corner dress just in case he's not fully 100% or something acts up with him dealing in the concussion protocol. I think Sean has enough credit and faith in Khalil Shakir to catch punts. Now, he can also make plays, too. We saw that in the Denver game. He got tackled by the punter as he was breaking a punt. So I think Shakir is a little bit more steady-handed and also maybe a little bit of the mindset. Look, I think Codrington is a great returner. He was the all-rookie team. He was the punt returner or kick returner of the year. But maybe some of that mindset goes into it, too, is that when you're that returner and you're only the returner, do you force things and say, hey, look, this is my moment. I got to make a play here. Whereas Shakir is probably thinking, hey, let's just get Josh the ball. Because Codrington did have a fumble or two during the regular season, and knowing how important turnovers are in this game, maybe Sean's going back to that, what Micah Hyde used to be of the punt catcher, not punt returner, knowing he's a steady hand back there. I think he will lean with Shakir there in that spot, and then he's fine with Ray Davis and Ty Johnson returning kickoff. So you lose a little bit in the return game, but Codrington is a big high-risk, high-reward guy in that spot, and I think he's going to lean towards the safer hand.
Dan, defensively, when you heard Von Miller and Gene's update talking about Patrick Mahomes, he's Kobe. He's going to make his shots, and it doesn't really matter what you throw at him. He's going to find a way to make plays. I'm curious as to what the Bills do defensively against Mahomes, especially given what we just saw, which Matt Milano has had some really, really amazing games as a Buffalo Bill, but Sunday might have been one of his best, low key, just because of the opportunistic plays and the way he was able to spy and contain Lamar Jackson.
I think there'll be a lot more spying as well. They spied him a lot in Week 11. It was between Bernard spying as well as Dorian Williams, who played pretty well in that spot. Because remember, Milano didn't play in that game either. Yeah. So factoring in some of those things, and again, because whatever you think Patrick Mahomes is going to run for, double it in a playoff game. Because he's so sneaky, he's so elusive. Josh and Lamar kind of run for big plays. Mahomes runs for first downs, and those are backbreakers. So I think we'll see some more of that spying. I think we'll see more blitzing, which, listen, it is pick your poison with blitzing Patrick Mahomes. He embraces it. He's so dynamic. And I remember when the Bills beat him in a regular season game back in 2022, Leslie Frazier actually wrote on his wristband and on his play call sheet, don't blitz, because he's so good against it. And the Bills didn't blitz him an entire game. I think the Chiefs, and I feel that the Chiefs' offensive line is weaker than it has been in years past. I expect to see some pressure. Not all blitzes are created equal, because Lamar Jackson was the best quarterback against the blitz heading into last Sunday, and the Bills were able to confuse him. And I still see some of that happening again. I don't think the Bills are going to play scared and not blitz like they did back in, like I said, the 2022 regular season game. But I think it'll be selective, and I think it'll be enough to force Mahomes off his spot. Because to beat any of the good quarterbacks, whether it was the Bradys or the Mannings or the Mahomes, you got to get them uncomfortable. Mahomes is really good at escaping, but I'd still rather have Mahomes on the run than Mahomes sitting in the pocket like Joe Burrow did back in the playoffs and pick you apart.
So the Bills' injury report just came out. So Taylor Rapp, the only player that did not practice today. Christian Benford limited, Matt Milano limited, Taron Johnson limited, listed with a neck shoulder, and I remember that play landed on his shoulder there. So, gosh, it would be hard to imagine any of these guys being held out. Dan, for those of us that have never been to Arrowhead, and you and Mike and Jen are going to go this week, of course. I mean, what's it like? How would you compare this to other venues? What are the Bills? What is their offense up against this week in terms of the crowd?
It's awesome. I urge Bills fans to go to the road games. I think it's a lot of fun. It will be a hostile environment. Arrowhead's one of those cool stadiums that has like the lure of being an old stadium, but it doesn't feel old. It is very renovated and modern, but it has that old charm and the legacy and the history of the stadium. I always remember when Stephon Diggs would talk about it, that said that's a place, especially in a playoff game, especially in an AFC Championship game, that will be so loud it will almost be silent, that you almost can't hear yourself think. And that's what I expect. It will be a hostile environment. I just don't feel like the Bills will be intimidated in the sense of, I know they haven't beat them in the postseason, and I know that's all that matters. I'm not naive to that fact. But this isn't like they've never beat Mahomes. They beat him a couple different ways. They beat him in defensive stops. They beat him scoring high-scoring games. So I think there's a little bit of comfort knowing it's not like you're traveling into a house of horrors. It's just getting over that hump in the playoffs against Mahomes.
What percentage would you expect the Bills Mafia to show up in Kansas City on Sunday?
It's always funny. You always talk about that. People say, oh, there's thousands of Bills fans. Even if it's 3,000 Bills fans, what is that, a
small
fifth?
percentage, yeah.
Right. I always think that, you'll see videos. And trust me, we'll be at a Bills bar on Saturday. There's plenty of Bills bars in Kansas City, and we'll be there, and there will be tons of fans. It will still be a small minority. I don't know if there's a ton of – I'm trying to balance, too, and we talked to Haley Lewis, who covers the team out for KC Sports Network, of just, is there any fatigue? Is there any of like, well, we've been to AFC Championship games before. We'll get tickets to the Super Bowl, or whether there's fans that, like, this is the Kansas City Invitational. Like this, they've been here before. This is what's expected. This is the floor for Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs in this era. So I think it'll be I don't think this will be a takeover by any stance, but I think Bills fans will be heard. To what extent, I guess we can make that call at the end of the game.
I commend your boss there, Mike Catalana, for his calm demeanor during the NFC divisional game, Eagles and Rams. And now the Eagles and Commanders, I can't imagine what he'll be like in the press box watching that. Probably calm as always. But what are your thoughts on this matchup? Because America certainly wants Jaden Daniels, something new. Give us something new, Dan.
Yeah, I think the magic runs out. As much as it's the same reason I'm picking the Bills in that game, because I think they're better on both lines of scrimmage. I think the Eagles are just better up front on both lines. The loss for one of the Commanders' tackles or guards, he was their only Pro Bowler, and he's out for this game. I think that wreaks havoc. I think Jalen Carter shows you how dynamic he can be, and the constant waves of pressure that they can put on him. I think Jaden Daniels is spectacular. I think you can make a case for him to be a top 5 to 8 quarterback in the NFL right now, and going forward is special. I think there'll be plenty of points in that game. I just think the Eagles can kind of push the Commanders around a little bit, and if they don't have self-inflicted wounds, I think they'll be just fine.
That's interesting. So what do you remember about the Bills-Eagles matchup from the 2023 season that kind of started the Bills' momentum for that late season surge into the postseason last year?
I remember Josh Allen being more free. I remember that was the second week of Joe Brady, if I'm correct, because I think it was the Jets was the first week, and then it was the bye, and then they went to Philly, or Philly then the bye.
And there was a Cook drop in that game. I remember that one.
Yep. Yeah, there were chances, and I think the Eagles secondary still has question marks back there, but their front seven is really good. It would be a really cool atmosphere or matchup to see that defensive line go up against the Bills' offensive line. But if that's the case, I think you get the better. I know you get the better quarterback, and I think you get the better coach. And those are the two things I always look at every single game. Of if I'm picking who's got the better quarterback, who's got the better coach, and the line of scrimmage, and who can control it. So That game was also in the pouring rain, and Jake Elliott hit a 58-yarder like late in that game where I was like, there's no way he hits this. And that was also a time where the Bills had a lot of self-inflicted wounds. The Bills have matured a lot, and I think that's part of Joe Brady gets a lot of credit for helping Josh to kind of do that. Josh deserves a lot of credit on his own, but I also think Sean McDermott, like I've been saying this for several times. I've come on this show. I've said it time and time again, the Buffalo Plus podcast. Like, put some respect on Sean McDermott's name. I think he's been that parent constantly to Josh Allen saying, we can't turn the ball over. We can't turn the ball over. Look over the last few years, games that they've lost, that Josh has turned the ball over too much. Sean's been up at the podium saying, Josh can't do that. Josh can't do that. And I think it finally clicked with Josh, and it's like you guys as parents. You sit there and you butt heads with your kid, and you keep saying, your way doesn't do it. Your way isn't the way to do it. And eventually you'll come around and see my side. To see Josh and this team have the fewest turnovers since 1970, the fewest sacks, the fewest turnovers, like you're starting to see that. And that's what I asked Josh yesterday. Like, he wanted to pitch the ball back to James Cook on third down and with 3 minutes to go. You saw it. And it was that moment of, nah, I shouldn't do this. Like, it's fine. 3 points here is massive. Time and score, understanding those things is massive. Josh will always have the spectacular plays. It was limiting the bad ones. I compare it to golf. Every golfer, from a guy that has a 20 handicap to the PGA Tour, they can all hit good shots. But the difference is the PGA Tour players, their bad shots, they're still 20 yards from the pin. My bad shots are 20 yards from where I hit the first ball. Like, it's limiting those mistakes, which is what has made Josh so impressive and mature. And I think Sean McDermott deserves a lot of credit for finally hammering that home.
Yeah, Dan, I'm glad you brought it up because I was going to ask you about that next. You asking Josh about whether or not young Josh would have pitched that back. And, Josh, I think it has a self-awareness to him as well that he's learned as he's matured here in the NFL to kind of say, yeah, young Josh probably does, but, we're trying to win a game. To that end, there was something that we discussed throughout the course of the week here, and it got brought up, and I don't know who exactly asked it of Coach McDermott. This team is no longer afraid to lose.
Yeah. They're a totally different team in the sense of where they were 4 years ago going into their first AFC Championship game, kind of young and dumb and full of vinegar. Like they were just going to go in there and see what happens. I think there is a sense of calmness. Knowing, like I said before, it's not like they've never slayed Goliath before. They've done it. They haven't done it in the biggest arena, but there is this calmness of we can rely at times on forcing turnovers. We don't turn the ball over. It's a good formula to win. You run the ball, you stop the run, you don't turn the ball over, you give yourself a chance, and then you have Josh Allen afterwards. So Amari Cooper talked about it as well yesterday. He said he plays a lot of chess, and there's a lot of sayings in chess of don't play to win, don't play to lose, don't play to draw, just play the game. There seems to be a levity to their mindset. That's the biggest thing. We've talked about it all year about the vibe. I think now there's a different mindset of, hey, let's go in there. Let's rely on what we have. We don't need to do more than we've done before. And I know there's some dumb cliches in it, but I think they've seen that the recipe works. So that I think to me, and Josh has talked about his conversation with Von Miller about whatever's happened has already been written, and this a little bit of the sense of ease. Now, don't get me wrong. I've joked around about they say, oh, it's just another week. It's not. It's the AFC Championship game, and some guys have said that. You had the soundbite of Spencer Brown, like, hey, it's either going to be a party or I'm going to be drinking a 24-pack by myself. Like, they understand the magnitude, but there is this sense of calmness of, hey, if we play our game, we got a shot to win at the end, and we always have Josh Allen.
Dan Fates, Buffalo Plus, 13 Wham. We know you're going to Kansas City, so set us up for the schedule here, what we can check out, Dan.
Yeah, Thursday we have today we have our Buffalo Plus live show, 7:30 or 7:15 on the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. We'll be answering your questions. If you missed the podcast, we post it. We're on the YouTube channel as well as anywhere you get podcasts tomorrow morning. Then Mike, Jett, and myself are flying out early on Saturday. We'll be in Kansas City. We'll have another podcast. We're going to try and do something live on Sunday before the game on the YouTube channel. So it's content. We caught up, like I said, with Haley Lewis, who has been covering the Chiefs since the Mahomes era, getting to talk to her about asking if the refs are on the payroll in Kansas City or if they just visit there all the time, as well as some fatigue of the Chiefs creating this mantra that nobody believes in them. it's a good listen.
All right, Dan. Well, have a safe trip. Enjoy the weekend, and we look forward to talking to you next Thursday about the Bills being in the Super Bowl.
Appreciate it, guys, as always.
Thanks, Dan.
Dan Fates, 13 Wham Sports in Buffalo Plus, joining us in the sports bar as he does every week at this time.
I'm glad he brought up Cooper because Amari Cooper had one target. Imagine if it was the receiver who was kind of in that role last year. How would we be discussing Stephon Diggs if, even though the Bills won,
that's
he had
interesting.
one target?
Yeah, I mean, I remember Diggs in the 13 seconds game not getting a lot of targets, right? Like he was kind of a decoy, and Gabe Davis had the game that he had.
They had a corner, I can't remember, but just shouldn't have been out there, and the Bills, rightfully so, took advantage of it.
That's right. And so I just remember his response after that game, which I still think in my head, you know, he might have been a pain in the ass behind closed doors with a lot of people, but what he outwardly put out there was, I'm a good teammate and I'm a team first guy, and as long as we're winning, I really don't care. If I'm out there as a decoy, then I'm out there as a decoy. And I think Cooper, to a certain extent, is saying the same thing here. He might be, you know, in Joe Brady's office saying, hey, man, come on. What am I here for? But at the same time, he also should recognize this is his first AFC championship game. This is his first championship game in the NFL. And he's got a long career, and he's top 10 since he was drafted in the league in receiving yards. He's fine. Like, Amari Cooper is fine.
No, it wouldn't surprise me at all that, okay, we're going to run, bam. Like, they didn't do that.
Think about last year's loss in the divisional round. Think about all of the almost plays that happened. And I know I'm talking about a fantasy world where Trent Sherfield makes a reception or Diggs comes down with a bomb. It didn't happen, so it's a moot point. But those are the kind of plays that didn't happen last year that I could very easily see happening this year with some of the guys you've got out there. And I think that's the subtle upgrades that they have made. I don't want to say addition by subtraction. Maybe from a culture standpoint, Diggs moving on is addition by subtraction. But it is trust. It's trust in Shakir. It's trust in Knox. It's trust in his guys. And if you can't make it happen, and maybe that's all it comes down to with Cooper. Hey, man, I'll throw it to you, but you better catch it. You only get one shot. Same with Coleman. Too much on the line, and we're not turning the ball over in this game. Fair. Does anybody complain if you win? I don't think so. So I'm just so fascinated by what they'll throw at Kansas City's defense. How will they look? Because they didn't have Spencer Brown that first time around. They didn't have Dalton Kincaid that first time around. Matt Milano wasn't on the field the first time around earlier this year. It's going to look different.
I would welcome the blitz. Oh, Steve Spagnuolo is going to dial something. Great, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And conversely, if you're going to pressure Mahomes, close. You got to close. I mean, I could certainly see McDermott playing aggressive against the Chiefs' offensive line, but you got to get home. You got to get him you got to get him to the ground because he is slick, he is slippery, and it will be death by 1,000 paper cuts. I'm just going to rush for 11 on 3rd and 10. That's okay with you guys. Good stuff from Fates. We'll get that up on demand for you wherever you get your podcast. You can search out the Sports Bar and find our work there. Alex Gold joins us next hour from our Odyssey Sports sister station, 96.5 The Fan in Kansas City. And something for one of our band regulars. When I say one of, I mean our only band regular. Just to lighten his day, make him feel good. I have odds on where Joe Brady could potentially be a head coach next year.
Okay.
We'll share that.
There's only how many openings left now? 2, right? Well, Dallas.
4. We're waiting on Dallas. Nothing confirmed yet. But, yeah, at least 3.
The Raiders. Yeah.
Yep.
Raiders, Saints, and Jaguars.
Yeah. And Joe Brady is – I have odds for Joe Brady in all of those situations. We'll talk about that here coming up in just a few. You can join us at 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326.
An Odyssey Sports Station.
Let's go, Bills.
The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Taylor Rapp, the only Bill not to practice today. Christian Benford, Taron Johnson, and Matt Milano were all limited. Spencer Brown on the challenge of going up against Chris Jones.
Yeah, he's just a game wrecker, all-pro for however many years, and I think the best D-tackle in the game. If you can take a D-tackle from inside, 3-tech or nose or whatever he's doing, then line him outside on a 5 on their pass down. A lot of tackles, myself included, that brings a different challenge to the game. So preparing for that, going back and watching what I did against him when he did line up previous times, and pray.
2 p.m. for our coverage on Sunday. Alex Gold, 96.5 The Fan in Kansas City, joining us later this hour. A report out of Dallas says that the Cowboys will name offensive coordinator Brian Schottenheimer as their new head coach. Sabres hockey tonight. Game 3 of the 4-game road trip sees Buffalo in Calgary. 9 o'clock for our coverage. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, The Fan Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
I respect the Buffalo Bills and what they're doing. They're a great football team, and Josh Allen's a tremendous quarterback. I love watching him play. It's really probably the player they don't want to play because of what he can do. He beat the Chiefs earlier this year. He can clearly do it, and his offense is good. If there's one team that can beat him, it's the Buffalo Bills.
Please, please, please win.
Mike Danger.
I think the majority of the country will be pulling for Buffalo. I think there's Chiefs fatigue. I kind of like the attitude, kind of like how they're going into Arrowhead. And we've been saying it pretty much all season. It just feels different. It feels different. Can't wait. Sunday's going to be a lot of fun.
Gene Battaglia.
For the Buffalo Bills, this feels only right to be playing at Arrowhead on Sunday. Nobody here is afraid.
In order to win, you can't be afraid to lose.
The Bills are one game away from going to the Super Bowl, and I feel it in my veins.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
It's Thursday. We're popping off. We're popping off a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I told Dan we'll talk next week about the Bills being in the Super Bowl. We're popping off, Gino. We're back. We are so back.
Oh, we can't hit the Italian music till Monday, but can you imagine how that'll feel? It just like, hey, Danger and I, we're not going to talk on Monday. We're just going to play music here. All 3 hours. You could just sit back and listen.
Now, the fans of Kansas City might have something to say about that. We'll go to Kansas City here in about 20 minutes or so with our buddy Alex Gold from our Odyssey Sports sister station, 96.5 The Fan in Kansas City. He'll be joining us here, and we'll continue to break down this matchup on Sunday, the AFC Championship between the Bills and the Chiefs. This is for our pal Luke from Rochester, who's been banned. Earlier this week, we banned Luke for calling us on a Victory Monday with the worst phone call that we've taken in the almost 9-year history of the sports bar.
9 times.
Luke's take of, I can't wait for Joe Brady to be gone from here. Well, Luke, for you, I have the latest odds for the next Jags, Raiders, and Saints head coach. Joe Brady is listed in all of these 3 openings.
Is he the favorite in any of them?
No, he is not.
Ooh. Okay. Can I guess, before you get to this, can I guess the favorites in each of these?
Yes, you can.
All right. I'm going to say I will put Mike McCarthy in New Orleans. I'll put Robert Saleh in Jacksonville. And the Raiders will dig up Pete Carroll. Am I close?
2 of 3. Saleh, plus 100 to be the next Jags head coach.
Okay.
Pete Carroll, plus 150. Hold on. I'm getting old.
He gets his reader.
Minus 150.
Minus
Sorry,
150.
minus 150. Pete Carroll, minus 150 to be the next coach in Vegas. And in New Orleans, no, it's not Joe Brady, to be fair. It's Kellen Moore, actually, plus 200 in New Orleans. Joe Brady is right now plus 225 to be the Saints' next head coach. Joe Brady is plus 500 to be the Raiders' next head coach. Joe Brady plus 300 to be the Jags' next head coach.
How big a distraction is this going to be?
Well, there is a report out there that it's the Saints that are actually lining up a second interview with Joe Brady next week. So the Saints, in theory here, are going to wait until some point next week to make a decision, or later to make a decision if they are planning a second interview with Joe Brady next week.
None of those jobs look particularly attractive. Like New Orleans is in cap hell. They're not in a position to get a quarterback. Trevor Lawrence was bad last year. In fact, he's been bad for a while. And that owner, okay, at least you don't have to deal with Fart Man as your GM anymore.
Fart Man? Oh, you mean Trent Baalke?
Not Howard Stern, no.
No. And Vegas is Vegas.
Yeah.
I mean, like, who knows?
Right, but you want to go to Vegas and be in a division with, Andy Reid, Jim Harbaugh, Peyton in Denver? Come on. Gosh, should he take any of those jobs? Absolutely. That being said, if you get a crack at this, I'd take the job with the Saints if I'm Joe Brady.
I think so. I think I would too. I wouldn't fault him for that. That feels like it would be almost like a homecoming. He's already beloved in New Orleans for his time at LSU. They don't forget that. Can we talk a little bit about Damar Hamlin? We talked about it with Fates just a little bit. When I saw that he's once again a finalist for Comeback Player of the Year, is this the AP asking for a mulligan?
Right. We were shocked last year. Like, wait a second. You're naming Joe Flacco, who I understand was on his couch in September, and then he guides the Browns to a postseason berth. And postseason play, by the way, doesn't come into any of this. All these awards have already been voted on. The AP Comeback Player of the Year. Joe Burrow is nominated, as is Sam Darnold, J.K. Dobbins, Christian Gonzalez from the Patriots, and Damar Hamlin. Can we, what is Sam Darnold coming back from? I'm being honest. It felt like he finally arrived. It wasn't like he was playing at this great level up until this year. So he may win, but that's the sketch part of this. It's like, what is the criteria? We were so confused about that. To me, this seems like, this is a do-over. Like Damar Hamlin getting it this year. He should have won it last year.
So you have to go back to the summer when the AP tried to clarify the guidelines for Comeback Player of the Year. And I would say that throughout the course of the season, those guidelines were still kind of murky, a little foggy. That I don't think people really knew what exactly qualifies as a Comeback Player of the Year. And you could certainly see Sam Darnold and say, well, he has to be a Comeback Player of the Year nominee, right? Well, based on the guidelines, he's somebody who should be declared ineligible, yet here he is, one of the 5 finalists for Comeback Player of the Year. So the voters have the criteria. The AP supposedly followed up regularly with the voters to make sure that the guidelines were clear, but perhaps here in this situation, the voters just ignored the criteria, and a player like Sam Darnold is a finalist. When the criteria is pretty clear, it's like, no, it's got to be somebody coming back from an injury or a massive improvement in play from the year before. And Sam Darnold didn't really play last year.
No.
He was a backup, right?
No, so
I could see Burrow, and honestly, if I look at this list, Burrow probably wins it, right? Like, Burrow is up for Player of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year. Burrow is up for MVP. Burrow could win Comeback Player of the Year, considering that he missed most of last year with that wrist injury, and he put up some amazing numbers, albeit in a season where his team couldn't get to the postseason. Burrow, a finalist. Gonzalez, a finalist. Dobbins is nice. I mean, Dobbins has been through so many injuries, and he was very productive for the Chargers his first year in L.A. But then you have Hamlin, and I see Hamlin in there. I'm like, yeah, of course everybody remembers what he's battled back from. Gene, am I crazy to think Hamlin can actually win this? Because not only did he not win it last year when he should have won it last year, but he has played all season and played relatively well all season.
Well, these are AP voters. Like, if you voted for Hamlin last year, like, really he didn't win? Like, you be inclined, and are the rest of these guys, is there enough to split the vote there? Maybe Hamlin wins it. There were 2 other Buffalo Bills to be nominated. By the way, AP Coach of the Year, no, Sean McDermott was not nominated.
Right.
Reed, Quinn, O'Connell, Campbell, Sean Payton. Sean Payton gets the nod over Sean McDermott. Okay. We already knew that Josh Allen would be nominated for the MVP. This is the interesting one. And I'll tell you who I think wins here. So Joe Brady was nominated for AP Assistant Coach of the Year. The other nominees, Vic Fangio, defensive coordinator in Philadelphia, Brian Flores, the DC in Minnesota, and the 2 Detroit guys, Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson. I don't think Joe Brady wins this, but I want to see this. I think Brian Flores wins this, and I would love to see the award. Roger Goodell handing the award over to the guy who filed a lawsuit against this league.
That's what you want to see. I actually think I could make a strong case for Joe Brady, and here's why. We all kind of assume we've all believed since they named the All-Pro team that Josh is probably not winning the MVP award during the NFL honor ceremony. It'll probably go to Lamar Jackson. So as a consolation, do you give it to Joe Brady as a coordinator of the year? As an assistant coach of the year? Do you just give it to Brady? Do you say Brady is the reason why Allen is who he is? Brady deserves the award more than Allen.
You don't see Monken being nominated there.
You don't?
No.
I wonder how much that plays into the mind of the voter there at the AP. Like, how do we keep this fair and equitable? Josh Allen doesn't win, but his coordinator does win AP Assistant Coach of the Year. Oh, we really blew that Damar Hamlin award last year. Let's get a mulligan on that. Let's give it to him this year because he played all season. That's remarkable. He was dead after all. I don't know. I think there is some intrigue as to who wins what here, and Offensive Player of the Year as well, with some overlap there at MVP. Joe Burrow, Barkley, Lamar Jackson, along with Derrick Henry and Jamar Chase, finalists for the Offensive Player of the Year.
Thursday before the Super Bowl, they'll name these. So that'll give you something to talk about on Friday.
Hopefully the Bills are busy.
I would hope so.
Hopefully the Bills are
busy.
busy.
And everybody gets a nomination for the Walter Payton Man of the Year. Once again, it'll be on Deion Dawkins.
You mentioned it in your sports update. It feels as if the Cowboys are going to close in on a deal here either today or tomorrow to promote their offensive coordinator, Brian Schottenheimer, to be their new head coach. Cowboys fans are just beside themselves. Such a Cowboys move.
In one way, I feel bad for Cowboy fans, but then I'd ask the question, what did you expect? This is the owner who hires yes men. He always has.
Yeah. How many bags of Jerry, how many of Jerry's bags will Schottenheimer have to carry when the team goes on the road?
For our entertainment purposes, Danger. Like, I didn't know if Deion Sanders was going to work, but, man, that would have been entertaining.
Would have been great. Would have made them the most relevant team, the most interesting team in the NFL.
So what broke down there? Was it Jerry? Was it Deion saying, I'm going to need this and this and this and this? And then that's how I imagine it went down. We have this other story here that finally we have Mark Andrews speaking on social media here. This is him on Insta. Now, he didn't talk to reporters on Sunday, didn't talk locker cleanout day as well, and I made the point like, hey, sooner or later you're going to have to address this, and it's a lengthy post. It's impossible to adequately express how I feel. I'm absolutely gutted by what happened on Sunday. I'm devastated for my teammates, my coaches, and for Raven fans. He goes on here, but at the end, I've seen heartfelt love and encouragement, including from those who have generously donated to the Breakthrough TD or T1D organization. Every moment seems the darkest perspective can reveal there's still a lot of light in this world.
Hey, if you're Mark Andrews, you're better for the struggle, man. You're better for the struggle. You have to approach it that way. Otherwise, you get to a real dark place real fast. I can get behind that. They reached their goal. They got over 90,000.
It's 104,000 right now.
Yeah, they crushed it.
Yeah, so good on Bills fans. And now that the Ravens actually tweeted that out, if you're a Raven fan, you should be behind that too, I would suppose.
You brought up Deion, and if we're going to talk about college coaches, there is a college coaching story that I noticed you haven't mentioned yet this afternoon, Gino. We do have a little bit more clarity this afternoon from the college coaching ranks that Bill Belichick has finally signed his contract at North Carolina. Your wine has been delicious, by the way. I've been enjoying it every night after we close up shop. Just kick my feet up. The black,
as you should.
Black box is what it was, a black box, right?
Right.
Which
and
was
you
also
accused-
the nickname of my high school girlfriend, oddly enough. But the wine is
Wasn't that
delicious.
a 90s pop band too?
Also, yes.
Yes. Strike it up.
So the buyout is still unchanged. That's a $10 million buyout until June 1st and $1 million thereafter. But Belichick finally signing his contract with the Tar Heels.
It's not over yet. There are 3 vacancies. Shad Khan could write a big check. Tom Brady could say, hey, we made magic one time. Come on back here at some point, Coach.
You keep holding on to that dream, buddy. I'll just be over here sipping black boxed wine because I'm a winner. We got to get to Alex Gold. 96.5 The Fan in Kansas City. We'll talk more Bills and Chiefs. Hey! More Bills and Chiefs. Coming up next on The Fan.
Bills, and more. Rochester Sports Update.
Taylor Rapp, the only Bills player not to practice today. Christian Benford, Taron Johnson, and Matt Milano were all limited. Von Miller talking about how difficult it can be to go up against Patrick Mahomes.
He's just one of those players. It's kind of like, Kobe. Like, he's going to score his shots. He's going to score his points. No matter if you have two guys on him, one guy on him, no matter if you're playing man zone, if you're rushing him, he's going to make plays. We just got to make a few plays, more than him.
Our coverage Sunday will begin at 2 o'clock here on The Fan. Scheduled to talk to Alex Gold, 96.5 The Fan in Kansas City, coming up next. Report out of Dallas. The Cowboys will name their offensive coordinator, Brian Schottenheimer, as their new head coach. Buffalo Sabres game 3 of the 4-game road trip tonight. Next stop is Calgary, 9 o'clock for our coverage. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
The beer is cold and the wings are hot. You're in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia on the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Like I said, if you want to win a Super Bowl, and as much credit as y'all want to give to them, you have to beat the Chiefs. Like I said, we knew we had to play them. We played them early on this year. I'm expecting a totally different game. I'm expecting them to come out with the mindset that they always do in the playoffs, and they've been able to get it done now here 2 years in a row, and they're trying to make it 3. So I'm expecting them to come out with that different mentality, different mindset. I didn't play them in the regular season versus the playoffs, and it's a completely different team. The mindset is different. The way they go about their business is different, and you can feel it. So we have to bring our A game because we know they're going to bring theirs.
Back in the sports bar, it's Danger and Battaglia. Always excited to welcome in our buddy from Kansas City, 96.5, The Fan in Kansas City. Talk more about the AFC Championship with Alex Gold, and we talked to one of your colleagues there at The Fan, Alex, yesterday. Binkley came into the sports bar really upset that the Chiefs are being disrespected, and both Gene and I are wondering, who is disrespecting the two-time defending Super Bowl champions that are on the precipice of a historic postseason run?
What's going on, guys? Yeah, I don't know if it's the disrespect. I don't know exactly what Bink was saying. I think it's the referee conspiracy stuff, if anything, that's irritated fans and people in Kansas City this week. It hasn't been so much the disrespect. I just heard the cut you guys played coming back from break there and everything. And in fact, we had a conversation on our show today that I actually think the respect level between Chiefs fans, Bills fans, Chiefs players, Bills players, coaching staffs is kind of as much respect as you'll ever see. In fact, that's why I don't know when we talk about is it the biggest rival for the Chiefs. We were pushing back a little bit today. I think it's still Cincinnati only because they talk a bunch of trash. They call it Burrowhead. They have so I think the respect level is almost so high that it hasn't led it to be like this hated rivalry. There's almost too much respect.
Alex, how do you view this season in Kansas City where, yes, the Chiefs are the 1 seed, and a win is a win is a win. But I don't know if we've ever seen a team where you've just had, a play here or a play there. They all seem to go the Chiefs' way. How would you summarize 2024?
No doubt it's one scores across the board. This is a team that last year won some one-score games as well. I think what we've seen for them this year has been the defense in particular has not played at the same level as a year ago, and they have had to kind of wait this thing out to the point where they got healthier and healthier. And now I think the gap has closed enough for them to be a little bit closer to where they were defensively. But this has been a team overall that I think has been a little bit slower to come around offensively than people were hoping for. It's funny because you said they won 15 games, so what's it matter ultimately? And they're in the AFC title game. But Patrick Mahomes got off to a rough start. He was turning the ball over far too much. They didn't have the downfield plays that people were expecting, whether it was Xavier Worthy not having great field awareness, whether it was Mahomes' deep ball just not being there. And then since they played the Bills, I don't have to tell you guys, I'm sure you've talked about it, Mahomes has protected the football, has not made mistakes. And you look at the numbers, despite how people maybe nationally talked about him, since Week 11, he's been as good as anybody in the league.
Yeah, we look back at that Week 11 matchup, and I know that both teams had some missing players on both sides of the ball, and I'm curious as to what your eyes are seeing out of the Chiefs' backfield from Pacheco, because to my eyes, he doesn't look like the same player that started this season since he's come back from his injury.
That's right. No, he's not. He's not the same to the point where people here believe Kareem Hunt should be the lead back on Sunday night against Buffalo. You know, I think some of it might be the ankle's just not 100% there. He had ankle surgery. The other thing I think is open fans and media eye here in Kansas City is Kareem Hunt's vision in short yardage situations. He has been the better back specifically on those situations. Goal line, you look at the yardage over the last 6 games, it's not much different between the two, but there's 3 touchdowns there for Kareem Hunt. Last week against Houston on a crucial 4th and 1, it was Kareem Hunt that got the carry. Kareem Hunt had a couple of the big runs to kind of ice the game away last week against Houston. So you're right. I think your observation is 100% correct on Pacheco, and he's a fan favorite and everything, but I think the organization with how they ended the game against Houston, it would not surprise me if out of the gate we see the carries go towards Kareem Hunt. It's not that Pacheco won't touch the football, but I think the bulk of the carries, if you're looking at the split, it was 60-40 probably before towards Pacheco. I think it's going to be that, if not more, towards Kareem Hunt on Sunday, if they run the ball that much, which I'll be honest, I don't know how much the Chiefs are going to be running the football in this one.
Yeah, well, I mean, it would be a departure from what they did against Houston. Now, granted, it was cold here. It was really cold in Kansas City, and maybe that was the reason why, when you played Houston there, only one wide receiver caught a ball, that being Worthy. I mean, was that just, okay, we really respect Stingley in the Houston secondary, we're not going to chance it, it's cold, or is that, how much concern would you have as far as who is being targeted here?
So I think a lot of it was also the defensive front. And Will Anderson and Daniil Hunter and how effective they were causing problems on the left side of that Chiefs offensive line. Joe Thuney, the all-pro guard, as you guys know, has been playing left tackle, and he's been their best option at left tackle, but they struggled. You know, they've been getting the ball out really quick, even when the offense was playing well prior to entering the postseason against Pittsburgh, against Houston the first time around. And this past game against the Texans, they weren't even able to do that all that effectively. I think some of it was that. And then, quite honestly, and I know Buffalo's not going to play it this way, the Texans, for whatever reason, thought it was a great idea to leave Travis Kelce in the middle of the field wide open. I don't understand that whatsoever. That won't be the case. I still think Travis Kelce is going to have a huge impact on the game, but he's going to have to work for it. And, Hollywood Brown wasn't playing in that Week 11 game. Xavier Worthy, to me, wasn't playing at the level that he is now the first time they played Buffalo. So I'll be curious to see with the Bills team that plays a lot of zone, just how the Chiefs will attack that. My guess is they're going to try to get Worthy and Hollywood Brown into space and see how the Bills can kind of keep up with some of that speed.
Alex, I thought it was interesting how the Bills handled the Ravens. They basically sold out on Derrick Henry and wanted to see Lamar Jackson give them the game. Lamar Jackson's going to fall on his face. That was kind of the defensive game plan. We're going to pressure him. We're going to force him into making mistakes. And he's been fairly mistake-free through the course of what looks to be another MVP season for Jackson. Is there a player on the Kansas City offense that you view as a potential liability? Is there somebody offensively for the Chiefs that could fall on their face that Buffalo could target?
So it's not a sexy name probably to Bills fans that's going to pop out there, but I'll go to the offensive line. And because Thuney's playing left tackle, he's an all-pro guard, which means you have a big dip in play at left guard. I'm talking about Mike Caliendo. That's the name to watch, and specifically what Ed Oliver might be able to do there. That would be, if you're asking for the biggest concern in the game, other than the obvious, which is Josh Allen plays great, which he really has in these playoff games, and it still hasn't been enough, would be if Ed Oliver's able to really blow up that left side of the offensive line, and it's going to be against Mike Caliendo. That, to me, would be the one area where the Bills could have some success from a defensive line perspective. Otherwise, look, Will Anderson, Daniil Hunter, those are two really special players. I think it's the best defensive front the Chiefs will play throughout this postseason run if it continues past Buffalo as well. It doesn't mean that Von Miller can't do something. I just think Mike Caliendo is the weakest guy on the offensive line in this game, and that's also where Ed Oliver is going to reside. So that would be the area.
We saw Kansas City really, and maybe it was just kind of a byproduct of I thought C.J. Stroud needs to learn a little bit more when to get rid of the ball, pocket awareness, that sort of thing. But Steve Spagnuolo certainly sending extra guys there. How do you think he plays it this week against Buffalo?
Well, I think he's definitely going to come after Josh Allen. The first go-around, because of personnel issues, not having Charles Omenihu, who was coming back from an ACL injury, not having Jalen Watson, the team's number 2 corner. He just came back from the IR last week against Houston, played about 60% of the snaps. Sounds like Steve Spagnuolo is planning on him to be closer to a full go. That is a huge, huge difference. And the reason for that, whether it was Amari Cooper in that game or Curtis Samuel, Jalen Watson's a more physical corner than Trent McDuffie. Trent McDuffie's an all-pro, but now they're going to be able to have McDuffie, at least the thought here is, line up with Shakir, maybe shadow him a little bit, and that's going to be an effective area for them in particular. I think with the wide receivers there in Buffalo, which is what they didn't have. And because of that, then you'll maybe be able to bring some guys on a blitz. I thought it was a pretty vanilla defensive game plan, just because one hand kind of tied behind your back, if you will, for Spags the first go-around. So that's kind of an area, at least here in Kansas City, people are watching and believe that Spags will kind of have more tools to utilize than he did the first go.
It's a stat that a lot of Bills fans are chewing up like red meat when we saw it earlier in the week that Kansas City is 31st in success rate and 32nd in yards per play when opposing teams target their tight end. And it carries more significance when Dalton Kincaid didn't play in Week 11 when the two teams met. So is this a pathway for success for the Buffalo Bills, targeting Dawson Knox, Dalton Kincaid in the passing game, maybe with some quick passes and getting the ball out of Josh Allen's hands quickly?
No question. Yeah, it's been the story all year, guys. This is not a good football team against tight ends. Now, it hasn't burned them, and that's the thought, that Steve Spagnuolo going into this season, you look at their linebacking core and how they handle the tight ends. It's kind of the one area where they said, all right, you're going to beat us with your tight ends, but we're not going to let you ultimately, beat us where it kind of counts. We're going to limit Nico Collins last week, but let Dalton Schultz go out there and rack up some yards. I mean, you look at this season, you said it, 32nd in the league on yardage. They've given up the 15th most touchdowns to tight ends, I believe, this season as well. So if we're just talking about, betting and everything, I'm taking Dawson Knox overs. I'm taking Dalton Kincaid overs. I don't, does that translate to a victory? Obviously, we'll see. They have no doubt, though, really struggled at tight ends, and I would be fairly surprised if both the tight ends there in Buffalo don't have success.
Yeah, Alex, you're certainly on BetQL, the network there. You have your own show. What do you think of the line kind of bouncing around here? Does this feel right to you? Buffalo now only getting 1.5. The over-under here, 47.5. Which side? Let's start with the over-under there. Do you see this being a track meet here, or we've seen Bills-Chiefs game where let's have long drives, limit possessions. What's the play there on the over-under?
So I do like the over, 47.5, depending on where you look. I lean over, or did I say under? I lean over. Maybe I said under there. My apologies. I lean over for the total in this particular game. I think Kansas City's going to have success moving the ball, but I also think Buffalo is going to do the same. My only hesitation would be what you just said a second ago, which is, does Buffalo feel more comfortable having longer sustained drives than in the past, based on how they've played this year? But I just think with the personnel that the Bills get back, with the personnel that the Chiefs are getting back, and offensively, I'm specifically talking about Hollywood Brown, who didn't play the first go-around. I think both offenses will move this ball. I've had this something like a 31-28 type of game. So I like the over, and we all know they put up, 51 the first go-around.
Alex Gold from 96.5 The Fan in Kansas City, our guest here in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. What are your 4 most interesting Super Bowl matchups, Alex? Rank them from 4 to 1, with 1 being most interesting.
Yeah, so I think Chiefs-Eagles rematch. For some fans, that might be old, but I still think that the way that game went down, and a lot of people believe Jalen Hurts, outplayed Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. So for Chiefs fans, that's one that sticks out. And then knowing that the Chiefs have the Commanders on the schedule next year, I think there's a lot of thought that, okay, Mahomes, Jaden Daniels, what if part 1 was in the Super Bowl, and then they maybe open up the next season with them as well. So from a Chiefs angle, it's definitely that. I'm sure, I don't know how you guys are talking in Buffalo. I mean, I still think the better game is Bills, against the Eagles than Bills Commanders. I mean, I understand the Commanders at that point would have been on a ridiculous run past the Lions, going on the road to Philly. But if we're just talking about like all around roster, I still think the Commanders defensively are pretty weak compared to everybody else in this field. So I think the Chiefs going up against the Eagles or Bills going up against the Eagles is still probably the better matchup if you don't have a dog in the fight.
Yeah, the Chiefs have been the roadblock for Buffalo. They've been the roadblock for many teams, right? But Alex, I love these stories, but you have the history of the NBA where the Celtics were king and the Pistons couldn't get by until they did. And, well, then it was the Bulls who couldn't get by the Pistons until they did. And Peyton Manning couldn't get by Tom Brady until 1 year he did. Is there any trepidation in Kansas City that this would play out that way?
We definitely talked about it today. This theory, like, is Josh Allen due? And I get it. Like, it's all right there. I get my pushback today on the show was, what does that mean necessarily? Like, I think if when we talk about reasons why the Bills match up well and stuff, and hey, that's why they're going to win. Maybe they're not going to turn the ball over, or hey, Josh Allen is just playing essentially, perfect football. Okay, I can get on board with that. The it's due theory. Yeah, if they play 100 times, the Chiefs aren't winning 100 of them in the playoffs. So they're not winning 15 straight Super Bowls. But, and not to open up a wound, but, like, obviously I don't tell you guys probably thought Jim Kelly was due after losing 2 or 3 in a row as well. Like, I don't buy into it's due or whatever. Yes, at some point Josh Allen's probably winning a playoff game against Patrick Mahomes, but, like, last year was the year. Wasn't he due last year? It was in Buffalo. Why wasn't he due then?
Yeah. I think, Alex, and I don't know how you view the Bills from a distance, but it's something that we've talked about this week. What feels different about this Bills team than last year's Bills team, as an example, is there's a calmness to their approach. There's a confidence to their approach. And more than anything, I think there is a lack of fear about losing a game. They're not afraid to lose games anymore. And when you look at how they've lost games, you kind of understand, like, it can't get much worse than it's gotten in terms of how they've lost some of these games.
So I'll say, in fairness, one thing we've pointed out when we were looking at was it going to be the Ravens or the Bills, coming to Kansas City. And to your point, what you just said, a lot of people here, including myself, thought the Ravens would be the preferred matchup, not the Bills. And the thought was what you were saying a little bit, which Sean McDermott at this point, we feel here, knows how aggressive he has to be. He's been hurt by the Chiefs before, giving the ball back to Mahomes or whatever. It's the fourth down decision in Week 11. Like, that was a sign for us here in Kansas City that, all right, he's kind of figured this thing. He knows how to play the Chiefs, how aggressive you have to be. You can't play afraid kind of thing. So I totally am with you on that angle. It's why people also wanted Baltimore, because the thought is that maybe Harbaugh hasn't been burned by the Chiefs enough to know that you got to kind of approach the game a certain way. Plus, Lamar, as we saw play out Sunday, we kind of thought heading in that, Baltimore is just way more likely to make mistakes than the Bills. And boy, oh boy, that's how that thing played out on Sunday.
Alex Gold, 96.5, The Fan in Kansas City, and you're still part of the BetQL network, correct, Alex? Are we still, or is that wrapped up here for the season?
No, we're still on BetQL Saturdays. I guess that would be 10 to noon Eastern on BetQL. I do a show on Saturdays with Grant Paulson, who hosts in DC. So we should have a fun show Saturday. He's the commander. He covers the Commanders. Obviously, I cover the Chiefs. So we should have some fun talking about these massive games.
Now nobody's getting. Last time we had you on, you missed the Bills Chiefs game, if I remember, because your sister was getting married. Nobody's getting married this week, right? You're able to watch this thing.
Yeah, so exactly. Yeah, my twin sister I guess that would have been that weekend. Yeah, so it was that. But no, we're full go. I'll be at Arrowhead this Sunday, and you guys mentioned the weather. It's going to be only in like upper 20s, low 30s, so not bad at all for both these cities. So this should be a hell of a game. I mean, these are always close. Everybody's getting fired up here, and it's go time here. I'm sure you guys feel the same way at this point. Wild card weekends. Wild card weekend's one thing, but AFC title game's a whole different animal.
Alex, we're done talking about officiating. Like, if somebody wants to call and talk, no more calls about officiating. I don't want to talk about it. And I'm ready for this game.
Yeah, man, I'll tell you. Look, I get it. Fans are fans. I'm sick of it as well. Hopefully that's not something that comes out of this one on Sunday either way, because I still think overall it's something we all do as fans when you get sick of a team. We start to look for reasons to blame individuals, usually officials. So
Anything on Cleet Blakeman that you've discussed on your show? Quickly before we leave, we don't want to talk about officiating at all.
Yeah, I got to run to the bank. The wire transfer hasn't gone through to him yet, so we'll get that handled.
Alex, great hearing your voice, man. Thanks for the time. Appreciate
All
it.
right.
Enjoy the weekend, and let's do it again soon.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
There he is, Alex Gold. You can hear him in the free-to-download Odyssey app. He's on our sister station, 96.5 The Fan, in Kansas City.
Interesting pushing back on the it's due. And we're like, oh, okay, yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, when you say he's due or they're due, it's along the same ways as saying, hey, you're lucky. Hey, you just need to be lucky. And sometimes you do need, like, we've discussed that earlier this week too, right? Like, when we had Tim Graham on from The Athletic, and we're like, what is it going to take? Why? Why can't this team get over the hump? And his thing was like, hey, look, there's been injuries, and sometimes you just have to be lucky.
Danger, it's never one thing.
Right.
And that's part of it. Luck is part of it. But even Alex mentioned it. Y'all got to grow. Like, there was room for improvement. We thought 13 seconds, oh, my gosh, that was the best chance. Well, go back to the first time they played in Kansas City. I'm talking about the first AFC Championship game where you look at that now, 4th and 3 at the 11, field goal.
Right.
Yeah, and that was in the first half. No. You need touchdowns. So the idea that Sean McDermott has grown. Josh Allen has grown by leaps and bounds. That's what's different. The Tim Graham thing, yes, that's part of it. Yeah, sometimes the ball has to bounce your way.
4th down execution is something. All 4 of these teams are the 4 best teams at converting on 4th down, being aggressive. And not just being aggressive at the right time, but converting. That's important to me as well. And to the point that Alex was making that we're talking about here, this is a Bills team that has kind of morphed into what the Chiefs really are. I mean, they're kind of similar in a lot of ways, and it was kind of crystallized yesterday when we were talking through this throughout the course of the afternoon that the Bills have become the Chiefs.
Now, I will give our final picks tomorrow here on the Sports Bar. Here's the thing that I'm trying to envision how this game is going to be played out. All these scenarios, I could see the Bills kind of having a 2-score lead in the second half. But will they be aggressive enough? I don't disagree with the way the Bills handled things against the Ravens, okay? It was a cold night. You want to limit, mistakes or whatever. But will Joe Brady, will Sean McDermott have that killer instinct in this game against Kansas City? Because I'll tell you what, if you get a 10-point lead and it's the third quarter, is anybody feeling comfortable here? No, absolutely not.
No, I don't know that anybody is going into the game on Sunday night saying, I can't wait to just kick my feet back and relax. It's going to suck. It's barf, cry, and die season, everybody, okay? We're going to be on the edge of our seat. Even if you have a 2-score lead and it's the 4th quarter, you know who the opponent is, you know how this works, and you can only breathe that sigh of relief when the clock hits triple zeros.
Yeah. If you thought last week was bad as far as your stress level,
yeah. We got a matchup for you. It's all on the line.
Well, but if it comes to fruition, Danger, nobody sleeps Sunday night.
Oh, man. The energy will carry you through Sunday night. We all remember how we felt. I didn't sleep after 13 seconds. I mean, I just kind of sat in awe of what we just saw, in awe that they lost that game and the way they lost that game. I mean, the tension that was just built up, the adrenaline, the release, I mean, impossible to wind down from that. I don't know how the players do it. I can't do it. I don't know how you do it. No way. So, yeah, Sunday night's a long night. Sunday night's a long night. After a full day of football, a long night on Sunday night. Win or lose.
They say 6:30 for the coverage. What time is really the kickoff? We learned that last week. It was 6:38, Bills-Ravens. So just kind of pointing that out.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we've got our Championship Sunday party all decked out. We're ready. We've got different cuisine from each of the 4 teams. Pretty easy. Buffalo wings, Philly cheesesteaks. I'm going to throw some eggs on this, some ribs on the egg, on the smoker, Kansas City style. We were trying to figure out what Washington's signature dish is. And all I could think was, can we serve up lies at a Championship Sunday party? But I don't know that's edible. So there's some sort of chili. And then my brother-in-law, who is a Commanders fan, said, hey, man, how about something with bacon for the Hogs?
Oh, all right. There you
Fair.
go. Yeah,
Let's go.
let's
Anything
go.
bacon
Yeah.
related will be our Washington signature dish.
I will be with Kim Coffee. We will be at the Taproom Bill Gray's Chili Avenue location, which, look, if you want to go out, that would be the place to go, and I would suggest making a reservation in advance.
Man,
so.
nobody likes a one-upper, Gene. That's
I'm
good stuff.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
You're going big, I'm going big.
That's right.
Yeah.
Everybody go big. It's going to be a big Sunday of football. Championship Sunday is always one of our favorites on the sports calendar, and it's even more special with the Bills looking to punch their ticket to New Orleans and go to the Super Bowl against either the Eagles or the Commanders. Happy hour is next on the Fan. We've got a round of shots. We have time for your calls if you want to join us. 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326. We'll recap the Bills' practice report from today, the injury report from today, and we'll get into some of the news and notes from around the NFL as well. That's all coming up.
Your Bills Mafia Sports Station. 7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester, an Odyssey sports station.
Let's go, Bills!
The Fan, Rochester, sports update.
Taylor Rapp, the only Bill not to practice today. Christian Benford, Taron Johnson, and Matt Milano were all limited. Offensive tackle Spencer Brown talking about going up against Chris Jones.
Yeah, he's just a game wrecker. All pro for however many years, and I think the best D tackle in the game. And if you can take a D tackle from inside 3 tech or nose or whatever he's doing, then line him outside on a 5 on their pass down. A lot of tackles, myself included, that brings a different challenge to the game. So preparing for that, going back and watching what I did against him when he did line up previous times, and pray.
Well, Spencer Brown missing that last matchup in the regular season against Kansas City. 2 p.m. for our pregame coverage this Sunday. There's a report out of Dallas that says the Cowboys will name their offensive coordinator, Brian Schottenheimer, as their new head coach. Sabres tonight in Calgary, 9 o'clock for our coverage. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, the Fan, Rochester.
Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
I respect the Buffalo Bills and what they're doing. They're a great football team, and Josh Allen's a tremendous quarterback. I love watching him play. It's really probably the player they don't want to play because of what he can do. He beat the Chiefs earlier this year. He can clearly do it, and his offense is good. If there's one team that can beat him, it's the Buffalo Bills.
Please win.
Mike Danger.
I think the majority of the country will be pulling for Buffalo. I think there's Chiefs fatigue. I kind of like the attitude, kind of like how they're going into Arrowhead. And we've been saying it pretty much all season. It just feels different. It feels different. Can't wait. Sunday's going to be a lot of fun.
Gene Battaglia.
For the Buffalo Bills, this feels only right to be playing at Arrowhead on Sunday. Nobody here is afraid.
In order to win, you can't be afraid to lose.
The Bills are one game away from going to the Super Bowl, and I feel it in my veins.
95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
It's happy hour in the sports bar. Hey, before we close up shop, we'll talk to Rochester Nighthawk Taylor Jensen. He's stopping by right around 5:45. We welcome you in to the sports bar. You can call us at 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326. We're on X, that's Elon's Twitter, at the Fan Rochester.
I'll drink to that.
Nope.
I don't like that.
I'm sorry. And we also have the video stream up right now, the Fan Rochester, our YouTube channel. Like and subscribe while you're there, streaming on Twitch at the Fan Rochester as well. By this time tomorrow, you and I will both have given our predictions for Sunday. We're looking forward to Sunday. I mentioned at the very beginning of our show, I'm anxious. I want Sunday to be here now. It feels like it's been a long week, even though it's been a short week, if that makes sense. It's been, for a lot of people, you had Monday off, federal holiday. Maybe the kids were home in the middle of the week because of the cold. Long week, even though it's been a short week.
Yeah, I mean, we're still driving home. It's getting a little lighter here at 5 o'clock, but still, this is the time, Danger, where let's just be mentally tough. And we got the Bills here to kind of help us pull through this.
I heard, but by the way, since you brought it up, that we're not getting 2 minutes of extra daylight. Every day.
We haven't heard from Count Hesco all that much. Well, what is there should be fear when it comes to
we missed an opportunity. I mean, how cold did it get on Wednesday? I mean, 10, 20, 30 below wind chills.
Be sure to watch the 13 Farm News tonight. And if you don't, your life could be in peril. I am Count Hesco.
I don't know when we turned Scott Hetzko into a Muppet, but he deserves better. He really does.
I will keep doing it until that cease and desist comes in the mail, I'm sure. Oh, speaking of which, I hope I'm here tomorrow. Speaking of...
Oh, yeah, the saga continues. Gene has to check to get out of jury duty here at 5:30.
Come on. You're going to make me go just on Friday and then until next week?
What a boner killer into the weekend. You just got to go one day and then into next week. Yuck. No, I think you're getting out of this. We'll get closure on that here, hopefully, right around 5:30 this afternoon in the sports bar. So the Bills hit the practice field once again, and once again, it was Taylor Rapp missing practice today. The only Buffalo Bill to not practice today.
Right. You do have Taron Johnson with the shoulder. Now, I remember when he landed, I'm thinking, oh, no, that really doesn't look good. That could be, well, he was able to finish out the game. Christian Benford in the protocol. I'm just wondering, though, like if Rapp isn't out there and it's Cole Bishop and we think Christian Benford's going to be okay, we don't know. Like if he's out there limited, you're hopefully like, there's going to be no.
He's going to be just fine.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Dr. Nick.
He's cleared him. He's fine. Don't worry.
Dr. Nick. And Sal Capaccio down in the tent clearing.
Yeah,
Christian
he's getting out there.
To hear our guy, Alex Golden, Kansas City, talk about Hollywood Brown and some of the things the Chiefs didn't do last week, and the temperatures are going to be warm-ish as compared to what we had. I mean, 30 is going to feel tropical. Do they air it out? Does Kansas City dare air it out? Because if you're just going for what is the weakness of this Buffalo Bills team, I'm sorry. I'm looking off Cole Bishop every day, and if I could see single coverage over the top maybe, and if Christian Benford isn't 100%.
Yeah, there's a template for it. See Nico Collins against the Texans against the Bills. I mean, you want to believe, and I'm going to choose to believe that since that issue with the rookie earlier this season, that the time that he's spent week in and week out at practice learning this defense, and now the added responsibility, the added reps in a meaningful game yet last week, obviously, and replacing Rapp, plus the mentorship that a guy like Micah Hyde being on the practice squad can help provide. And you know what you forget? I mean, he's a rookie. We all know it. But, man, hearing Cole Bishop talk after practice, I'm like, not only is he a rookie, he looks like he's a high school player. He looks like a Section 5 kid.
Which
is terrifying, but at the same time when you watch him play, he plays bigger than he looks.
Right. He had a nice tackle on Mark Andrews that went for only a gain of 5. Fortuitous timing when it comes to our guest tomorrow. Joining us for the first time tomorrow on the Sports Bar. His name is Carl Jones, was with Channel 8. Now he's with WIVB in Buffalo, and he is, part of their show, works for Josh Reed out there. Why Carl? Well, he covers the Bills. He also played for Syracuse as a defensive back. So meeting him, hearing his story at training camp this past year, it was something Josh pointed out, that story. Do you remember this? Where McDermott stops practice at Fisher, and it was Carl Jones saying something Cole Bishop did wrong there, and he wants to correct that right on the spot. So McDermott, being the former safety himself, seeing him coach up Cole Bishop a little bit at camp, I'm curious to kind of dive into the mind of Carl Jones tomorrow, because to me, we're going to talk about the pass rush, certainly. We'll talk about who's going to spy Patrick Mahomes. But if you have guys open downfield, forget it. Mahomes will find them.
PJ Glasser of Send It In on the BetQL Network will also stop by for his weekly visit. We had to bump him from Tuesday to Friday because of duty,
Actually, Wednesday to Friday. He joins us Wednesday.
Wednesday to Friday.
But
sorry.
I did get 2 calls today. Hey, what happened to PJ?
Oh.
Pump the tires for PJ.
I think people just wanted us to, rub PJ's nose in it a little bit because he took the Ravens.
He did, right. We kind of missed that opportunity yesterday. Like, PJ's not coming on the show today because, well, he doesn't feel good. He's sad.
He's crying in his beer, in his natty bow. That would be PJ Glasser at 3:25 tomorrow with his picks for Championship Sunday. So a full show tomorrow as we kick off your weekend. And, Sunday it all begins. Pre-game coverage starts at 2 o'clock here on the Fan Rochester. Can't wait.
These nominations for the NFL awards. Now, this isn't the NFL. This is the Associated Press. And the Associated Press, Danger, that's supposed to be, along with like the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal, the standard of journalism that we are going to bring you and we're going to name you. Yeah, and they also didn't name DeMar Hamlin the comeback player of the year. The dude died. And, well, you know what? We're going to have to clarify the criteria for this. You actually have to come. Where's Trent Baalke doing on the show here?
Every time credible journalist gets on his soapbox or baseball writer, all I'm going to imagine is them just farting as they're talking. We have a responsibility to the people, to the fans, to make these votes count. And excuse me, Ichiro, you are not to be a unanimous choice for the Hall of Fame. Oh, sorry, I had Chipotle for lunch.
Are you stressed out about your Buffalo Bills in Kansas City? Are you nervous about this game? No, you come to the sports bar for that.
So I do think it's interesting that Hamlin is a finalist for Comeback Player of the Year for the second year in a row. Last year was the year that he came back from death. This year he just played.
What is he coming back from this year as opposed to last year?
Right. This feels like a mulligan. This feels like the AP voters saying, "Yeah, we kind of feel bad that he didn't get last year, so maybe." And by the way, he could win. Like if he were to win, it'd be like, okay, that's an admission. We got it wrong giving it to Joe Flacco last year. We kind of forgot, Damar, that you died on the field and came back to play the sport. And play it at this high level. So we'll go ahead and give it to you in 2024.
They nominated Sam. Look, Sam Darnold had a great year. We can all acknowledge that. But as the comeback player of the year, come back from what?
The bench.
He never arrived.
Come back from being a backup.
Yeah, what you started in New York and coming back. It's such a weird award anyways.
I mean, I think Burrow has the award. I mean, if you're going to give it to somebody for their performance after a season of injury, coming back from an injury, we were worried about Burrow at the start of the season, right? I mean, we're like, I don't know. We don't know if he has velocity. For what it's worth, we didn't know if Damar Hamlin was going to make this team at the start of training camp, right? That was one of the things we were talking about.
Right.
Like, is he making this team? And not only did Hamlin make the team, of course, he's been playing great at a high level all season long, and Burrow has put up some amazing, amazing stats. So, my guess would be it's Burrow's award to lose. Because Burrow is also nominated for Offensive Player of the Year. I don't think he's winning that. He's also nominated for MVP. I don't think he's winning that. But, the NFL wants Joe Cool up there to, win some kind of an award if he's not in the postseason.
Well, this is going to be a made-for-TV event. It used to be the night before the Super. Now it's the Thursday night. So let's kind of like space it out here. And Thursday night's a good night for television. And there were two other Buffalo Bills members that got nominated. Josh Allen obviously nominated for the MVP award. Sean McDermott did not get nominated for the Coach of the Year award. It was Joe Brady getting nominated as an assistant, which, okay, Joe Brady wins the assistant, but then Josh Allen doesn't win the MVP?
Right. That's kind of,
yeah.
I mean, if you think about how it all could shake out, good luck trying to get inside the mind of an AP voter, but we all assume that
it starts with the stomach. Like, what did I have for lunch?
I would imagine that Lamar wins MVP based on the All-Pro selection, first-team All-Pro selection. So do you give a consolation prize to the Bills by giving Joe Brady the assistant coach of the year? It wasn't really Allen. It was Brady that made Allen the MVP candidate that he was this year. I don't know. Well, that'll all be interesting to see how it shakes out, I guess, on Thursday. I won't watch, but we'll all keep tabs and report back on who won what at the NFL honors.
Who won the Man of the Year award? I just want Brian Flores. If it's not going to be Joe Frady, give it to Brian Flores so that Roger Goodell has to hand the award over to the guy who, I don't know if the lawsuit is active or not still, but yeah, that was really bad.
That would be awkward. And just one more note on Joe Brady. I have odds on where Joe Brady could land in terms of some of these openings that still exist. I think there are 4 openings left. Cowboys haven't officially.
They haven't officially. There's a report out of Dallas, and Cowboy fans, I hope it's false. You hope it's false. Nobody would be in favor of this. You go from, all right, I guess I could, get behind maybe Kellen Moore if we're not going to get Deion Sanders. But we had a Deion Sanders expectation, and now Brian Schottenheimer?
No. Feels very Jerry-like to make that move. Not going to get the guy that's good. We're not going to overspend. We're not going to pay too much money for a guy like Deion. We're going to move off of McCarthy. They have promoted guys from within in the past, right? Dave Campo comes to mind. Certainly Jason Garrett comes to mind.
Yeah, it's the MO.
It's Schottenheimer.
Ugh. Ugh.
Who is the odds-on favorite right now to be the next head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars?
Robert Saleh.
Plus 100.
Okay. Who else is on that Jaguar list,
Yeah.
As he puts on his readers.
Yeah, I need it. Patrick Graham, plus 300, along with Joe Brady at plus 300.
Okay.
Kellen Moore is actually plus 200. I should mention that in Jacksonville. Cliff Kingsbury, a bit of a long shot, along with Todd Monken, both men at plus 900 to be the next head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. How about in Vegas, the Raiders? Man, it was this time that last week I was convinced Ben Johnson's going to the Raiders. Ben Johnson's going to the Raiders. They fired their GM. Path is clear. He can hire his own guy. Tom Brady's recruiting him.
For as kind of we have questions about the ownership and the GM in Chicago, it's the better job. He took the better job, Danger. Congrats.
Well, I'm still kind of riding this wave of emotion. I don't know how to feel about this. I mean, he has to win games, but as of right now.
Yeah, you won yesterday.
As of right now, I'm smitten. Pete Carroll at minus 150 to be the next head coach of the Raiders. That's followed by Todd Monken at plus 150. Joe Brady, plus 500. And then you got some long shots with Coach Prime, Spags, and Ron Rivera, all at plus 1,000.
Why did Ron Rivera's name get tossed in there, I wonder? Huh. I didn't know he interviewed.
For the Saints, right now your favorite, co-favorites, I should say, at plus 200, Kellen Moore and Mike McCarthy. But right behind them at plus 225, Joe Brady. And the Saints have today requested a second interview with Joe Brady for next week. So Joe Brady getting the second interview in New Orleans. We'll see if that amounts to anything. And right now he's just behind the co-favorites, Mike McCarthy and Kellen Moore. Also, Darren Ritzie, although Darren Ritzie, I think, is going to end up in Chicago as a special teams coordinator. Ritzie's at plus 225. Mike Kafka at plus 450. Yuck. And Anthony
you're not
Weaver.
mentioning a guy at plus 10,000. I'm sorry.
Oh. Who's a plus 10,000?
Bill Belichick.
Well, since you brought it up.
You know what? I might just put $10 on that, and just so I would just be like, drink the whole box in front of you and just make it rain.
Yeah,
make it rain.
If you were to win it, just come in here, just flash out the cash, spread it out. That was the bet that won, pal.
Whoa, plus 6,000, but this was as of this morning to be the Cowboys head coach. Look, they'll take your money one way or another. That's
Bill Belichick also today, finally, I don't know what took him so long, finally, officially signed his contract with North Carolina. I mean, he went through the whole dog and pony show, the introductory press conference, the sappy story of how he grew up there and blah, blah, blah. The countless updates from his consigliere.
Yeah, Mike Lombardi.
There's
nothing to see here. What are you doing? What is it? You media, what are you doing?
Leave us alone. He's recruiting. He's not going to the NFL. The buyout remains the same. $10 million until 6/1, $1 million thereafter. But Bill Belichick finally, officially signing his contract with the Tar Heels.
All right, so it'll cost Chad Khan a little bit more money. That's all.
And the wine has been fantastic. The boxed wine that I won, winning my bet with Bill Belichick not returning to the NFL.
I made the mistake of saying I got it on sale. Just being honest with you.
Well, when I saw the name of the wine, it conjured up some stirrings. I mean, it's called the Black Box, which was also the nickname of my high school girlfriend. So it's, I enjoy the wine, the boxed wine, thoroughly, Gino. Feed up, just taking sips and just reminiscing about not just winning my bet, but, the old days.
Happy for you.
Yeah. Thanks. Thank you.
Happy for you.
When's our next bet?
I'm not allowed to bet with you.
Oh, no.
Not allowed. That's
no?
it. No more.
The executive producer put the kibosh on it, huh?
That's it. Listen, happy wife, happy life.
Uh-huh.
And that
Fair
is
enough.
something I'm not going to negotiate. Negotiating a bet with you? No. I'm retired on that end.
What have we not gotten to yet here in the sports bar? Fates was great. Alex Gold was great. A couple of great conversations previewing the Bills and the Chiefs.
Mark Andrews talking today.
Yeah.
Not exactly talking, posting on Instagram. And look, I can respect somebody who I know it's your job as a professional to talk right after games or even the day after. But after something like that, if you need a few extra days, I don't think anybody should hold that against Mark Andrews. And by doing it this way, he's able to get exactly what he wants out there. And it's a long post. It's impossible to adequately express how I feel. I'm absolutely gutted by what happened Sunday. I'm devastated for my teammates, my coaches, and for Raven fans. He goes on, though, to talk about the heartfelt love and encouragement, including those who have generously donated to the Breakthrough organization. This is the one for diabetes. Even when every moment seems darkest, perspective can reveal there's still a lot of light in this world.
I like that. And we crushed the goal for his foundation, right? Over 90,000.
It was, let's see, I'll hit refresh here because we started out the show at 104, went up $3,000 this afternoon. 107,370.
Yeah, it's still growing.
Yeah.
Amazing. They'd be crazy to move off of Mark Andrews. He's a good football player, man. That was an unfortunate bounce for him. Very fortunate for the Buffalo Bills, but and you know, I'm not blaming him for the fumble. That was an unbelievable play by Terrell Bernard. Mark Andrews is a good football player.
You got to catch that ball, but the same thing with the Tyler Bass miss. Okay, he catches it.
Then
tell me what happens next. Yeah. Tell me, like, how would the Ravens be an Arrowhead? Perhaps, but I like Josh Allen's chances to get in the field goal range with $133 and 2 timeouts.
Same, and it's funny. I mean, like, if that's how you're going to win games in the postseason, if you're the Buffalo Bills, you got to kind of grit your teeth and win them that way. We're not used to it being that way. We're used to it being reversed. But if the team were to gift you a minute 33 with Josh Allen, I kind of like our odds, and maybe it comes down to something like that come Sunday at Arrowhead. We'll see. Let's get to a round of shots next. We've got Taylor Jensen of the Rochester Nighthawks joining us before we close up shop at 6 as well.
Sabres hockey tonight. What's going on with Pete Alonso? Yes, got a St. Bonaventure basketball note. And sure, it's not too soon to be talking about the college football season schedule for 2025.
A round of shots and your calls, 866-4326, 585-866-4FAN.
Your home for the Buffalo Bills. update.
Taylor Rapp, the only Bills player not to practice today. Christian Benford, Taron Johnson, and Matt Milano were all limited. Von Miller talking about how difficult it is to be going up against Patrick Mahomes.
He's just one of those players. Like it's kind of like, Kobe. Like he's going to score his shots. He's going to score his points. No matter if you have two guys on him, one guy on him. No matter if you're playing man zone, if you're rushing him, like he's going to make plays. We just got to make a few plays, more than him.
2 p.m. for the pregame coverage Sunday here on the Fan Rochester. Report out of Dallas. It says Dallas will name offensive coordinator Brian Schottenheimer as a new head coach. Sabres hockey tonight, Buffalo in Calgary, 9 o'clock for the coverage. Amerks are in Providence tomorrow night. RIT home Friday night against Niagara. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, the Fan Rochester.
The sports leader, 95.7 FM, and streaming online at thefanrochester.com and the Odyssey app. This is the Fan Rochester.
Yeah, just his ability just to get open, to be completely honest. In zone, he finds those soft, open zones in the zone. And then in man coverage, he can beat you. He's still elusive. He's still got that elusive ability to him, some speed as well. Big target. So we know that's Patrick's number one target. But we got some guys that can cover as well. So it should be a good matchup.
Buffalo Bills defensive back Cam Lewis on Travis Kelce. You're right. Alex Gold was right. Like, maybe don't leave him wide open. Houston left him wide open. And I know we should watch what we say. He was wide open last year in the divisional round when he's scoring a touchdown on blown coverage.
But Christian Benford wasn't in there. That was, oh my gosh, who was the corner that's not on the team anymore? Well, they fixed that. So this is the second meeting between the Sabres and Flames this season. It was actually Buffalo getting a 3-2 shootout win on home ice back on November the 9th. There's no hope here. The Sabres entered tonight 11 points back of the final wild card in the East. They're still in last place of the conference, 4 points back of the Isles. Believe it or not, the Sabres the most goals on the road this season. That would be the 33-year-old Jason Zucker who came over as a free agent. He's got 11. Zucker missing the last game in Vancouver with an illness. He should be good to go for tonight. Coverage begins at 9 o'clock here on the Fan.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we said it earlier this week. You can win a game against Vancouver, and that's nice, and you could say that you've got this winning record over the past 13 games, but you lost 13 straight. At some point, how are you making that up? You're going to need to rattle off at least 10 straight wins, I think, to get people talking about this team.
Well, the playoffs begin now.
Right.
Yeah, like you can't be getting 1 point here, 1 point there. It needs to be 2
They're
points.
not even farting around. That's just to get them farting around. We need them to go on a massive streak.
Well, you could say, well, they're 11 points back. I'm like, well, yeah, and all the teams in between, right? Considering that next week is February, that's the month that Major Leaguers report to camp, right? What is going on with Pete Alonso? The free agent remains unsigned. He had an offer of $70 million to go back to the Mets, which he turned down. It's not clear, Danger, if that offer is still on the table. One team that was reportedly interested, the Blue Jays, but the Jays signing of Anthony Santana might have taken away the need for signing Alonso.
Meet the Mets. Meet the Mets.
Reaction. What do you think?
They'll get it done.
He's coming back?
He's coming back. He's not going to be a Cub. It's not going to be an Oakland A, or Sacramento A, or whatever.
No, are they even the A's? What are they? What are they called?
They're just the Athletics.
They're just called the Athletics.
The Athletics, yeah. They're not going with any team.
Not the Sacramento Athletics. The Athletics.
Although they're wearing a patch that says Sacramento on the side, so go figure.
Crazy.
Yeah, we now know how much of a pay cut Adrian Wojnarowski took, leaving ESPN to become the basketball GM at St. Bonaventure. He's making 1% of what he would have made with the network, $75,000.
Wow.
Which, is it more of a wow that the basketball GM in the A-10 makes that much, or that Woj was making $750,000 annually at ESPN?
I'm surprised that that's as low. That's what he's making as a base. I feel like that there's got to be some crazy incentives baked into that contract if that's his base.
Probably not. Because there's not money rolling into Olean. I'm sorry, there's just not. He's going to be 56 this coming March. After a 14-1 start, this is bitter for me saying this. After a 14-1 start, the Bonnies have now lost 4 of their last 5. The team plays at VCU coming up Friday.
I think it's telling that we talk about St. Bonaventure here. The Orange did have a game last night, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. It was like, I got driving home last night, like, we didn't bring that up.
Yeah.
Clemson, yeah.
I was flipping around and going through my guide looking for some action. I'm like, oh, the Orange are playing. Let me just check in. Oh, God!
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, well, I'll use my time somewhere else.
86-72, the final score for that game for Syracuse. So, yeah, not great to follow up that win against Notre Dame with that performance. In the sports bar, we raise a glass to one of our own. Detroit Pistons center Isaiah Stewart, McQuaid product. He made a donation of $750,000 to the Boys and Girls Club in Rochester. This to renovate their gym, which is located just off Genesee Street. Stewart growing up just a few blocks away on Katy Street.
That's a great move. Love that. Love that for our community. Love that we have one of our own giving back to the community. That's fantastic.
And Detroit isn't bad this year either.
Young talent, right?
Yeah.
Houston's been interesting. The idea that the Rockets have kind of done what they've done with Ime Udoka as their head coach, like not much last year, kind of picking up the pace a little bit here this year. Seeing how they've performed this season has been interesting to me.
Now, if you've ever traveled on a really tight schedule, maybe you can kind of relate to the story. On national television tonight, it's Miami, Milwaukee. Now, I know a lot of the talking head shows were like, oh, blah, 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 Jimmy Butler not playing. Okay, whatever. Milwaukee didn't leave New Orleans till 2 o'clock local time. So they're flying in only a couple hours ahead of this game. They were stuck in New Orleans. That game never got off.
Oh, the snow.
Yeah, and can you imagine? To me, let's see, Milwaukee is giving 6.5. I don't know. That's got to be tough getting off a plane and playing a game like that.
Betting on the NBA to me is just here is a donation. It continues to be a donation. You want to believe that, but who can say?
Boston and Lakers tonight, 10 o'clock on TNT, the back end of that doubleheader.
Feels like a win for the Celtics.
Finally, college football, the standalone TV game week 1. I love they do this now, give you Monday Night Football before the NFL starts. The Labor Day standalone game has been announced. It's North Carolina hosting TCU.
Yay.
The debut of Bill Belichick.
Yes.
And Carolina Blue will be on national television.
That's right.
Not if I have anything to do with it.
It's too late, buddy. It's too late. I'm enjoying the fruits of my labor, the boxed wine. It's been delicious. Belichick is coaching college ball, not in the NFL. Who's the champ?
If you're a Cowboy fan, are you holding out hope that this Brian Schottenheimer as the next head coach was just it was a faulty report?
If you're holding out hope for anything, it's that there's a Hail Mary to Coach Prime. That's the only thing. But I would imagine if Schottenheimer is spending 5 hours, as reported yesterday, on a second interview, that they're working to ironing out a deal to get him to be the next head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Okay, Dallas. Good luck with that. But that's not surprising that Belichick will be their standalone primetime game there on Labor Day between two teams that generally TCU has been somewhat relevant in recent years, but generally aren't in contention. That'll be fascinating just because it's Bill Belichick's debut in Carolina Blue.
There is another report, and this guy is a pro football writer. His name's Joseph Hoyt. He's reporting that a name, like, okay, their special teams coach, Rich Bisaccia, will also be getting an interview.
So in Dallas?
In Dallas.
Bisaccia was the special teams coordinator for Green Bay last year.
Okay, sorry. He was the special teams coach from 2013 to 2017.
Very good, yeah. Okay.
So he has a Dallas background. My apologies.
Okay, yeah. We remember him. He was the interim coach in Vegas.
Vegas, yeah.
Right, and then he didn't get the job in Vegas, even though he got them to the postseason. And because that was the Gruden year, right? Gruden got let go. Bisaccia took over, guided the Raiders to the postseason, didn't get the job, lands in Green Bay, has been in Green Bay, now getting an interview, second interview here with the Cowboys. Okay. A dark horse has emerged.
By the way, I was right about Gruden.
You were. It's very clear.
It was just setting you up for nobody cares, but
no, it's fine. Nobody cares when you're right. But I will say, what's become very clear is he is blackballed. There was no talk of interviews. There was no talk of were interested in talking to him. Nothing. I mean, he's doing his Barstool stuff. I think he does a really good job with the Barstool stuff, but he's not getting any sniffs from the NFL.
Mm-mm.
This is what he's been relegated to, and I'm kind of sad about that. I think that there are a couple of teams, the Jets included, that if they had the opportunity to talk to him, I mean, would you be more excited if you're a Jets fan if you had Gruden or Aaron Glenn? I don't know. We got to get the last call next. Taylor Jensen, Rochester Nighthawks, Colorado, the opponent this weekend at Blue Cross Arena.
Yeah, and, look at it this way. There is no football Saturday.
Yeah, what do you got going on? Let's go.
Yeah, first Saturday since, week 0 we haven't had pro or college football.
Yikes.
Yeah, well, get your Nighthawk fix in. Let's support the local team.
Absolutely. We'll check in with Taylor Jensen, the Rochester Nighthawks, next for last call. You can join us as well at 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester. They've raised the bar on Rochester sports talk. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
It is last call in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. A reminder, tomorrow afternoon, we're back for the brand new episode starting at 3:25. PJ Glasser, the host of Send It In on the BetQL Network, will get his favorite plays for Championship Sunday, and we'll be joined by Carl Jones, WIVB-TV in Buffalo, 425, former Syracuse defensive back, by the way, and we'll talk some Bills and Chiefs with Carl tomorrow afternoon in the Sports Bar. Welcome in Taylor Jensen, Rochester Nighthawks. The big matchup against Colorado, one of the teams that the Nighthawks find themselves looking up at the standings. Taylor, thanks for making time for us. 7:05 coming up here on Saturday night. RIT class of 2023, man. How's it feel to be playing here in Rochester at Blue Cross Arena in front of your hometown fans?
It's good. It's good. It took me about 6 years to graduate and still stayed in the Rochester area. Yeah. So I'm pretty happy about it right now. I got my family here, so yeah, I love the community here.
Yeah, you're never leaving. You understand this, Taylor. You're like one of us. Like bring us back because you played junior college down in Long Island. You're from Canada. How did you arrive at RIT in the first place?
I had a buddy that I played box lacrosse with back home, and he said, "Hey, you want to come to the school?" And I didn't really know much about RIT back then. And 2 championships later, I'm still here. So.
Well, it's great to have you here. Now, talk about your experience so far with the Nighthawks, and specifically this season. Not necessarily the start I think the team wanted. 3-5 so far in the season. What have been some of the challenges that this team has faced early on in the season?
We're dealing with some injury. We lost our captain to a broken hand and our goalie to a hamstring injury. But the guys are really starting to come together. We're kind of on the upswing here. We put together 2 good games, 2 wins, Georgia, and our last game in Halifax. And, spirits are kind of high, and we're feeling pretty good. So Colorado's going to be a great game. It's going to be good. They're fighting for a win too, right? So I'm really excited to go out there and kind of give it to them.
Yeah, I went to a few games last year, and you did have injuries last year, but you somehow found a way to get into the postseason. And, well, now things are starting to come a little bit together. But going through that experience, Taylor, you got a lot of the season here left as we're still only in January.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like this team is a new team, so every year we've gotten a little bit better, right? We made playoffs last year, and this year we're gonna continue to improve, and next year we're going to continue to improve, until we're the best.
Taylor Jensen, Rochester Nighthawks, spending a couple minutes with us here in the Sports Bar. The Nighthawks hosting Colorado, coming up here Saturday night at 7:05 at Blue Cross Arena. Now, we in doing a little research on you, Taylor, we learned that, is this true, your half-brother actually plays for the hated Buffalo Bandits? Is that correct?
Ooh.
Yeah, can you believe that? It's a good little rivalry, though. I never played with my brother or against him until I got into the NLL. So it's been really cool. And I already know all his tricks, right, because I'm the one that taught him how to do everything. So it's not too hard.
Josh Byrne being your brother, but how many people don't know that, Taylor?
I would hope a lot. I try to kind of make my own name, step away from his shadow, because we don't have the same last name, so it's not super obvious, but I try to keep my own thing going on my own track, which is why I didn't want to go over to Buffalo, and I wanted to stay here in Rochester. So yeah.
Well, we appreciate you being here in Rochester and Colorado. What do we know about the opponent here coming in? What kind of prep have you guys done for the Mammoth here before Saturday?
A good amount. They got some really good players. I grew up with one player, Will Malcolm, who is super fast and has a great shot. He's a really good player, so he's definitely someone we're going to have to take a little key in, pay a little extra attention to him, because they have some good shooters and a good defense and a good goalie back there too.
Yeah, and you know what is going on Saturday night? Not football. Yeah, Taylor, no excuse not to come out and support your Nighthawks.
Exactly. Exactly, at the Blue Cross here. It's going to be a great time.
So you got your 5. How is that balancing this? And for a lot of guys we know in this league, they have other jobs. You're a marketing major at RIT. So are you doing anything outside of the Nighthawks? And how do you balance that and being a dad as well?
So I live a pretty blessed life right now. I'm waiting for my green card here. I was married last year, so I'm waiting for my green card, and I just play lacrosse right now, and I do a little bit of coaching at RIT. And I'm a full-time dad to my daughter. So I'm doing a pretty good thing here. I like it. Pretty soon I'll have to get a job though, and kind of figure some stuff out.
Well, you ain't kidding though. You're blessed if you get to spend that much time with your 5-year-old. That's amazing, Taylor. And
yeah,
really cool getting the chance to have you on with us here, and wishing you best of luck the rest of the season. Of course, Saturday night as well against Colorado. We'll be looking forward to checking you out there at Blue Cross Arena Saturday at 7:05. Have a great night, bud.
You too. Thank you.
Thanks, Taylor.
Taylor Jensen, Rochester Nighthawks, as they host Colorado Saturday night, 7:05 at Blue Cross Arena. We encourage you to go out and support your local franchises, your local teams.
Yeah, his brother's really good. 53 goals with the Bandits last season.
Well, that's all?
Yeah. But he had a chance to go to Buffalo, and you know what? I kind of like it here in Rochester. He's our guy, Danger.
That's right.
Taylor Jensen.
All right,
transition pillar. Our phone number is 866-4FAN, 866-4326. This is Last Call. John in Rochester. What's up, John?
Hey, guys. Man, I'm telling you, we're going to be Super Bowl champs. And we're taking that step Sunday, and we're gonna get there and win it all. No doubt about it. You know, I've got an omen that I was thinking about today. Back in 1964 and 1965, the Bills won the AFL championship. I was at the third championship game in a row for the Bills when the Kansas City Chiefs upset us, 31-7. So I'm gonna say turnaround is fair play. We're going to beat Kansas City 31-7 in their home field.
Wow, John, I was wondering because you're kind of known for going a little out of bounds with your love for the Buffalo Bills. I'm like, hey, predicting the Bills to win the Super Bowl, it's not that out of bounds. But, Danger, would you say a blowout win in Kansas City is a little...
I like the Bills part of it. I think the Bills could score 30. I mean, they make scoring 30 seem routine. I don't know that Kansas City's only scoring 7. But, we'll share our predictions tomorrow, John. You're not that far off with your prediction. And I like where your head is at. I think a lot of Bills fans are trying to find ways to exercise the demons here as you get ready for the game on Sunday. We had a call earlier today who was saying, and John, thanks for the call, man. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the game.
Guys. Yeah.
You got it, buddy. Not only will they beat the Chiefs, but then whoever they play in the Super Bowl is from the NFC East, and all the Bills' losses in the Four Falls were from teams from the NFC East. So you can exercise all of the demons if you win the Super Bowl this year. It would be epic. Got to get past Kansas City and Pat Mahomes first. So we'll look forward to Sunday, and we'll get one day closer to it tomorrow afternoon. Again, 3:25 tomorrow afternoon. We'll have the host of Send It In on the BetQL Network, PJ Glasser, stopping by. He'll give us his favorite plays from Championship Sunday. And you're right, there's no football on Saturday. We got Nighthawks action, but I know how PJ's mind works here. As football starts to dwindle down, he's going to start shifting gears to college basketball, and it'll be March before you know it here in the sports bar.
He's really good when it comes to that. If you say when it comes down to, are you really paying attention to college basketball?
Me?
Outside of your favorite team. I'm asking anybody in general. This is the guy who does that for a living, so keep that in mind when we do get to March.
Carl Jones makes his inaugural appearance into the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia tomorrow afternoon at 4:25. Carl's from WIVB TV in Buffalo. Formerly of WROC TV here in Rochester, and formerly of the Syracuse football team. He was a defensive back for the Orange.
Yeah, so we'll ask him because one of the key things, if Taylor Rapp is not available. Now, McDermott will go on with Sal Capaccio tomorrow. Does McDermott rule out Taylor Rapp tomorrow? He shouldn't.
I think he will. I don't think Rapp's playing. No sign of him today at practice. Even if he's limited tomorrow.
Just from the gamesmanship standpoint, though.
He's been so honest all year. It's weird. It's been
who is this guy?
It's been a different Sean McDermott. We preyed on his lies for so long, and now it's like, what do we do now? We got to believe him when he says something taken as gospel? We'll learn more about the Bills injury report tomorrow afternoon. We'll give our predictions for Bills Chiefs as well. If you missed Stan Fates, Buffalo Plus, 13 Wham Sports, or Alex Gold from 96.5 The Fan in Kansas City, our Odyssey Sports sister station. Speaking of Odyssey, that's a great place to get all of our content. Just search out the Sports Bar, and you'll find all of our guest appearances and shows for you right there. You can also search us out wherever you get your favorite shows. Look for us on YouTube. Like and subscribe. Our channel, The Fan Rochester. We also stream on Twitch at The Fan Rochester, thanks to our viewers as well as our listeners. JR Sport Brief next on The Fan Rochester. Have a great night.
Taking care of your Buffalo Bills.